Tales of Demons and Gods Divine Kingdom Chapter 1. The smell of cinnamon wafted through the room. Two dogs laid by their owner's feet sleeping as he read the final chapter of Tales of Demons and Gods. The young man can remember his old high school days. It was when he got addicted to web novels, further complicating his already unhealthy addiction to reading, an activity that he was obsessed with ever since he turned 5 years old. Ring. Ring, ring, ring. His alarm rang to remind him to take a break and take his medication. He was never quite able to get by without his inhalers, so after priming it, he took 2 puffs as prescribed by his doctor and then went to the restroom to clean himself up. As the hot water from the shower fell on his light chocolate skin, the man was deep in his thoughts about his 25-year-old life so far. From living in the projects to owning a multi-million-dollar business at the age of 20 is no easy feat. If he had been like most other kids, he would be stuck working a job he didn't like, and that job would not have paid well enough for him to live a comfortable life, so he would need to take multiple. Some of his friends even went on to drugs or died early just for a trace of hope of getting out this rut they were unfortunately born in. Lowering the shower temperature, he rinsed off his soapy body. All the stress and tension went down the drain, leaving just a bit of tiredness. Getting dressed in a dark green robe, he scratched and rubbed his dogs, playing with them a bit before heading to his study area filled with books. Grabbing a few of them he wanted himself before sitting down at a table with a chair. Despite the troubles his addiction with reading caused him, he had a lot to thank from this obsession, and now after some therapy, a set hobby he did every day. More than me, make me some warm milk and chocolate chip cookies. Oh, and some peppermint cookies as well, said the man, thinking a bit. Not even 30 seconds later, a plate of fresh and warm cookies were in front of him, along with a thermos of warm milk delivered by his computer house assistant. More than me, take me to the man cave, spoke the man as his house moved and parted in different ways, taking him to where he previously was in the beginning. The man cave is where he spent his retirement days. After 10 minutes he was finally done with Tales of Demons and Gods. It took years, but he made it through the hard times. His Deo of patience reached perfection and he ascended along the rest of his sect members. I'm free, he spoke to himself, and then something strange happened on his computer. A pop-up asking him to take a survey for reincarnation was on his screen, with the options being yes and yes. Strange. How did I get a pop-up? I did not download anything except for the new OS updates to keep it secure, along with the latest version of my antivirus I made myself. This antivirus he made was extremely effective and was one of the 8 pillars that helped grow his company into what it was. Hitting Alt, Control, and Del, he opened up his task manager and ended the program currently running and ran his antivirus, finding nothing, but the pop-up was still there. What the hell? I guess I'll just reboot. It works because I would just have to get a new computer and upload all my latest backups, thought the man, remembering his teacher from college. Backups, backups, backups. Without a physical copy of a backup, then you risk harming yourself in the long run, spoke the computer science teacher in the now very annoyed man's heart. After rebooting his PC, the pop-up was still there, and at this point he just gave up, clicking on the yes option of the pop-up, wanting to see where this led to. The man laughed when he saw the horrible-looking website, as if it came from the early 2015 scam websites. He then read what was on the website, and what it said piqued his curiosity. Congratulations, you have won a free reincarnation to another world. Just select a couple of options and fill out the survey and out you go. Question 1. If you could reincarnate in Tales of Demons and Gods, who would you choose? Answer. I would choose Shen Yu. Not only does he have a great family background, but also has great talent. I feel like he had potential, but he was dealing with a 500-year-old monster who had almost every cheat in the book and that knew him and his family very well. Besides, he was just a 13-year-old kid. What could he really do to an old man who had a hate boner against him? Question 2. Choose 4 worlds to get random abilities from. Answer. Bleach, Soul Land, Tales of Demons and Gods, and Martial Arts Battle Arena. Although I love the novel Oracle Paths, I feel like it would be too boring and my mindset would be greatly limited. Plus, what if I ended up as a weird alien creature? Besides, the things in the martial arena have great benefits for the body. thought the man, shivering at the potential consequences of not choosing safely. A/N, Material Battle Arena and Oracle Paths are my favorite original novels on web novel. Check them out if you can. Question 3. How will you die if you were reincarnated right now? Answer. With no pain and worry, just peaceful sleep. Question 4. How do you want to deal with things left behind? Answer. All assets will go to my family and I want both my family and my dogs to live happy glorious lives without anyone on earth remembering me. But let my deeds be known to history forever. Let my discoveries and innovations be regarded as myth and turn my tale into that of a legend revered and respected by all. Question 5. Who are you? Answer. I am Akil Azizi, 25 years old, one hell of a businessman, computer scientist, and cook. End of survey. As Akil enjoyed his meal and played with his dogs, the sky slowly grew cloudy, as did his thoughts, as a feeling of dread creeped into his mind. He knew that something happened, that he messed up, but he did not know how. He slowly walked to his bed and laid down in sleep like a log. His final thoughts were peaceful, but he felt regret knowing that he made a big mistake. Tears crept down his eyes, his body fading away from history, his dogs now living with his parents and his achievements being immortalized in the form of a legend of an old crow. After his death, Akil's soul stood in front of an ancient, giant rotating wheel. It spun slowly while having a grand attraction to everything around it, and in this infinite space of darkness the red glowing wheel was the only thing in this desolate place. As Akil slowly was drawn in, he could see the images painted on the wheel, better depicting the 6 paths of reincarnation, and when he got within 10 meters of it the wheel expanded with more mysterious paintings and size. Akil was inching closer and closer until his soul touched the wheel and caused it to spin wildly before stopping at a particular set of configurations and shrinking down its size, entering the body of the Akil and sending his soul to an entirely different world. A world of demons and gods. 8 years later. Shen Yu was bored like he usually was. Nothing recently could entertain him, and he started to understand the reason why his elder brother Shen Fei acted like he usually did. He couldn't even train martial arts and could only do basic exercises, or if he was desperate he could have a band play music for him. As for learning it himself, he put it beneath himself. But he did enjoy practicing with a bow and had great talent for it, but it was overshadowed by elder brother's status as future patriarch. He wished his life could change for the positive. He wanted to do greater than this. Suddenly he felt a wave of extreme tiredness and pain in the head before passing out on his bed. Akil finally arrived at Shen Yu's body and entered it before being attacked by the will of Shen Yu, and although he put up a fight, Shen Yu's will was defeated and absorbed by Akil, combining both of their souls. Akil then slowly settled down, adjusting to this new body of his, when suddenly his soul glowed a deep yin color, and his body a slight yang. Retethering the soul as if it was his original body, but this resulted in a few changes in Shen Yu's body, causing it to go into a deep slumber when the soul finished tethering to the body. No one but him knew. The world was about to change. A week passed, and it was one of the most nerve-wracking weeks for the servants they ever had since the day the first young master was looking for personal servants. Shen Yu got sick, and it was not an ordinary sickness. He was put in a deep slumber and no one could wake him up, but instead he broke out in a fever. Worried, the 2 morning servants found the family doctor, who for the life of him and his family couldn't identify the disease. But luckily for his neck, he found the cause of the illness, and that was an imbalance of yin and yang energy, with the excessive yin energy causing the body to react in a bad attempt to rebalance the energy. Every day for the next 7 days Shen Yu slept on a purple wood bed with citrus-smelling frankincense lit in the morning, and had a regular frankincense at night along with a small fire carefully maintained by the servants. In afternoons he was bathed in yang medications and wooden herbs. The good news is that this enhanced the qualities of Akil's host body, making it stronger and tougher and filled with good blood, and as a result good chi. A/N I am using the TCM definition. Some impurities also left his body, and by the time our main character would wake up his body would have experienced a small change that benefited him in the long run. A day passes, and as the morning sun hit Akil's face he slowly opened up his eyes while sitting up against the wall, as if he did it 1,000 times before he yawned and took a deep breath in then out. Akil's expression quickly changed. Usually his chest is tight and a bit heavy, but this time his chest was light and he could breathe easily. A joyous smile formed on his face. He was extremely happy and he was young, without asthma, and in a new life he would do all the things he never did. Akhil couldn't wait to do those things, but first things first, and that was to get the smile off his face and to look through his memories. Following his intuition, he began meditating, resonating with the thing within his soul. He lived through 8 years of Shen Yu's life, thinking his thoughts and experiencing the exact same life that Shen Yu did. It only took a few minutes until he came back to reality and exited meditation. It makes sense why Shen Yu acted the way he did, always being number 3 in the family since Shen Fei was number 2 with Shen Hong as number 1. He didn't like working all that much and preferred to practice his Bao in the courtyard since he couldn't go to the forest. He didn't have any friends he could visit since he was in a weird state where his status was too high for the majority of others, but it is also too low to do what he wants. It was a really awkward spot and he never got as much attention except from his aunt, who from Shen Yu's was surprisingly nice to her nephews despite the semi-rocky relationship with his father. The most surprising thing was that he never saw the face of his father, and because of his mother's early death sometimes he really doubted if he was even really the son of the patriarch. Akhil could still feel this awkwardness and a bit of hate deep inside him, but he now understood completely why Shen Yu acted the way he acted. Well, although I am relieved and happy, I still regret the choice I made. Now I'm gone, but at least they won't remember me and be in pain. From now on I am Shen Yu, but I will be myself at the same time, and I need this situation to change. Shen Yu adjusted to the movements and habits of his body's previous owner and slowly got accustomed to it, finishing just in time before the servants entered the room. Ready? He placed a neutral expression on his face and acted as if he just woke up. Chapter 2. Second young master is awake, thought both the servants with a surprised yet joyous expression on their face. They were elated to find that the young master they had served for years had gotten through the illness, saving them and the doctor from losing a limb or even worse, death. Besides, they cared for the young master since the age of 4 and would be deeply saddened by his death. Young master, how are you feeling currently? The elder servant with worry. He appeared as a well-dressed man in his 60s, with long shaggy gray hair and tall legs. His hands were behind his back but had perfect posture. Shen Yu didn't answer but instead looked at them for a second, reaching into his memory, and then performed a response. I am feeling well this morning, thank you. Servant Wu, prepare the bath for me. Servant Xia, bring my doctor to me, said Shen Yu in his original host neutral tone. So I was out for a while, and despite my mental preparations I am still not that prepared for what's going to go on, and I know I either win, or I fail and die trying to survive what's coming next. Shen Yu thought to himself in worry, doing his best not to show it on his face. Not wasting any time, both the servants performed their new instructions, and Servant Xia took the time to inform the head of servants about Shen Yu's awakening. But also without permission informed Shen Yu's servant to inform her before getting the doctor, and walking down the long wooden hall and bringing him to Shen Yu's room. First a medical checkup, and a bath. Then I will start exploring based on the leftover memories. I got 4 years to prepare for that demon's arrival, and I intend on using every second of it, thought Shen Yu, before hearing a knock on his door. His servants were not allowed to go in without permission now that he was recovered, so now they needed permission to enter and exit. You may enter, spoke Shen Yu, allowing the servants and the doctor to enter. The 2 servants and the family doctor entered the room, and after closing the door stood a respectful distance away according to the status, with the family doctor ahead by a few steps, but all were lined side by side. What happened to me, and how long was I out? Spoke Shen Yu, a bit peeved about missing 7 days of potential training time. 7 days, young master. You had an imbalance in your qi flow causing excessive yin energy to flood your system, causing an illness. Luckily they got me here quick enough to diagnose and deliver a treatment, responded the old doctor. He was not mentioning the fact that Shen Yu was close to death to avoid looking like he was trying to weigh his importance over Shen Yu, but he still made it clear enough for someone to tell he was hiding something. What if the illness progressed? Asked Shen Yu, who felt like the doctor was hiding something from him. It's not like I would have died or anything since I reincarnated, so there's obviously something else. The doctor gave a slight sigh as his eyes and voice gained a bit of a fake heaviness to it before answering. The excessive yin qi would cause your yang qi to weaken to further wreak havoc in your meridians, causing great pain before killing you, said the doctor, expertly avoiding the subject of Shen Yu's balls shriveling up and rotting slowly away before finally falling off and turning him into a eunuch. Shen Yu's heart leapt a bit, and felt annoyed for slapping himself in the face. Good thing I am not in a novel or fanfiction, otherwise the readers would be making fun of me by now. Well, I thank you for your great efforts. Could you perform a checkup before you leave and make sure nothing like writing is left? Asked Shen Yu with a bit of fear and annoyance in his voice. After all, he just found out he nearly died after reincarnation. Better safe than sorry, thought Shen Yu. Very better than a young master. Please stretch out your palms so I can perform my diagnosis technique, said the doctor, and no sooner did Shen Yu's hand arrived with his palm facing up. Blackwood art. Medicinal skin, roared the doctor in his mind as he touched Shen Yu's palm, creating a wood-like aura around him before transferring it to Shen Yu. His spirit energy spread throughout Shen Yu's body, giving Shen Yu the feeling of being seen through, and the aura made its way back to the doctor, who had now stopped touching Shen Yu's palm, who was going over the medical information in his mind. After going through the medical information, he wound nothing strange but an increased blood strength. If before Shen Yu blood strength was like a slowly dripping faucet like most mortals, it was now clear running water nurturing his body gently. Great news, young master. From what I found, you have completely recovered and achieved balance again. Better yet, your blood strength increased. So when you are old enough to go to the academy, you will be ahead of your peers when you start cultivating. When it comes to recovery and physical strength, you will be the best, spoke the old doctor joyously, not aware of the other changes the hidden wheel in Shen Yu caused to his body. Great. You three may take your leave, and servants ya inform my aunt about my recovery, spoke Shen Yu before getting up and walking into the bathroom that had his new clothes on a rack inside of it. As you wish, young master, the three said, bowing and then leaving to attend to other duties. After closing the door, he undressed and walked into the tub, relaxing his body. Shen Yu, knowing how hard it was to stay clean in these times, made sure to thoroughly clean himself before drying himself with a towel to avoid disease. He then dressed himself according to the original's memories and practiced the habits and body language the original had, slowly getting used to the feeling and eventually naturally producing those minute actions. You might be wondering why there was no protest to his actions of bathing or dressing himself. It was all because of Shen Fei. He was not always a pervert, but it changed after one of the maids his age seduced him and took advantage of his naivety in the bath to try to control him. And because of that, she was beheaded in front of Shen Fei, the servants, and the rest of the family to serve as a warning. Ever since then, servants were not allowed to be in the same room as him during a bath unless called to attend to them by their admission, which Shen Yu never did, partly because of fear and other parts his aunt warned him against ever doing it out of concern for his mental health. Shen Yu stepped out of the bathroom and stretched his limbs. He had on a black tie-li with a white undershirt. It had white designs from the shoulder down wrapping across his wrists and waist. With his handsome looks, gray eyes, and dark blue hair, he brought out the effects of the outfit to his maximum. It was not the clothes that made the person, but the person that made the clothes. Of course, this was the case only for handsome and beautiful people. Well, thankfully I have good looks, but I should get going now and head to the library. According to this body's memories, it should be close by and it will contain vital information I will need to make plans, thought Shen Yu to himself, exiting his room into the hallway, and after walking for a few minutes met Shen Yu. Shen Yu, you must be trying to get used to walking again, said Shen Yu, greeting Shen Yu. A/N, weird I know, but after doing some research I found that people in China greet familiar and close people this way. Aunt Yu, you must have been looking for me, questioned Shen Yu while politely greeting her, tensing up a bit out of nervousness. Chapter 3. Well, yes, because today we are having a family dinner. So tonight at the usual time go to the banquet hall, and remember to sit on the right. It will be the second seat to your older brother. Shen Qiu noticed the slight nervousness but ignored it and walked off to meet up with some of her spies. After all, the boy was going to meet his father for the first time. Shen Yu continued walking forward, but he was noticeably more stiff. He was never much of an actor besides during elementary school doing plays, but thanks to his memories and the will inside him he was able to mimic most if not all of Shen Yu's actions. But nevertheless he was still clueless about the will inside of him, only thinking that he was reincarnated via the wheel of reincarnation. First day waking up, and I have to be in such a tense situation, roared Shen Yu in his mind before taking a deep breath and then out, relaxing himself a bit. Calm down, there isn't much they could fault me for, and no one there knows me well. Including Aunt Chu, who although visits it's not enough to completely outs you for being someone else. The only blind spot would be the servants, and hopefully they won't be asked many questions. For now I should head to the library and pick up a couple of books, and then after familiarizing myself with the body more head to dinner. Shen Yu thought in his mind as a flash of intelligence sparked in his eye before quickly fading away. Unbeknownst to himself, his thinking speed increased to an almost unreasonable extent, allowing him to even speak and plan to himself in 2 seconds or less. A bit nervous but mostly relaxed, Shen Yu arrived at the gigantic library. It was a deep red and 3 levels tall, designed with intricate patterns that seemed like they were moving. The royal blue entrance was held together with 4 white pillars that had dragons and tigers sculpted on them going opposite directions wrapped around the pillars. Despite its large size, there were not many people there, since those who had access to the library would either be cultivating or hunting down demon spirits for contribution points, resources, or library time. Entering the library, he reached into his pocket and showed his token to the elder before walking off into the history section of the library. Looking around, he found nothing he wanted until he arrived at 3 books: the history of the sacred family, the history of Glory City, and a book on tradition and etiquette. He then traveled more around the public library, getting books that caught his eye, and stacked 10 of them into a pile near the elder and called for a servant. That should be enough for me to look at for the next few days, but I need to take this a bit slower and start showing a growing interest in reading so I would be able to be a bookworm without catching suspicion. Besides, it's not like someone is going to take note and use that suspicion against me. They are more likely to believe that after my near-death experience, I started taking life more seriously, so unless someone specifically suspects me for no reason I will be fine. Thought Shen Yu to himself again. Shen Yu originally wanted to make small talk to the elder in order to get rid of this awkward silence, but he ended up realizing that the original Shen Yu wouldn't have bothered. So he ended up not talking to the elder and just ordered the servant in a cold manner to deliver the books to his study. It's only the first day and I already feel some agony. Hopefully this tense situation won't happen for much longer. I should exercise in my training yard before reading the books needed for tonight. Then, I need to get dressed for the banquet while going over Shen Yu's behavior, and also his memories. Shen Yu groaned in his mind. Reincarnating was almost nothing like he wanted it to be from the anime and comics he read. When Shen Yu dreamed of reincarnation, he imagined being surrounded by 3,000 beauties, face-slapping every opponent he came across and ruling over the world until he got bored and went to a new one, or maybe even regressed to his neat lifestyle. Hard work is what is needed in order to survive in this world. Arriving at his home, he went straight to the training ground and took off most of his clothing besides his pants and hairband that kept his long hair from interfering. Time for some basic conditioning. What I need now is stamina and speed. If I can run fast and long enough, the enemy won't be able to kill me. Fighting close up. Screw that, I rather hit them with an arrow far away. I always played the wizard in RPGs for a reason, and that was for the cool ranged magical powers. I can't copy that style here very easily, but I should at least be able to escape a situation. Thought now the second young master to himself as he started to jog around the huge courtyard. In then out. In then out. In then out. To breath is to live. Shen Yu took deep breaths as he picked up his pace from jogging around to running around and couldn't help it. He hasn't felt the tightness in the chest or had an asthma attack, and thanked whoever sent him there for the chance to live without his limiting condition. Running might be his new favorite activity, but he was still human, and despite the effects the wheel brought to his body, he was still tired by the continuous running. Shen Yu then slowly adjusted his pace, slowing down until he wasn't breathing as hard and his heart wasn't beating as fast. He then did a quick warm-up involving push-ups, squats, knee raises, mountain climbers and different stretches. After finishing his warm-up, he practiced his horse stance. That is the only thing he knew from martial arts besides boxing theory. Shen Yu's mind was blank, and his muscles were starting to get sore, and by the time he finished exercising he had 5 hours to get ready for the banquet. After taking a shower, and dressing in some simple clothes, Shen Yu cracked open the books on basic etiquette and sacred family history, reading each of the books thoroughly, and for good measure read a book on basic arithmetic, which luckily for himself, the original already went over once in his boredom, but one thing he can say for sure, is that this system of math needs to be changed. Chapter 4. After his book cravings were satisfied, Shen Yu changed once more into appropriate clothing for meeting his family for the first time, and for the 2 hours that were left continued to practice acting like the original Shen Yu. Soon a servant would be arriving to guide him to the banquet hall. I know that I mentioned this before, but these clothes are a pain to get on, and it makes sense why people of those times had servants to do it for them. But then again, a large factor of human innovation is war or laziness. Well, back to the topic at hand, and that is the banquet that's going to happen, and I am sure my other siblings besides Shen Fei are going to be there, and I have almost no memory about them. Sure, they might not meet much, but as brothers shouldn't you guys get along more and get to know each other? Ah well, just act a little better than Shen Yu usually does and it should be fine as long as you stay calm. Shen Yu's thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. Ah, that must be the servant, it's time to head out, thought Shen Yu as he stepped out and closed the door. Did my Aunt Yu send you? Asked Shen Yu to the servant in a cold but pleasant tone, much better than the one he was using before. Looking straight ahead as always, never looking to your left or right, but that's expected of the second young master, thought the servant in her mind before addressing Shen Yu. Yes, young miss said to relax some more, it's not good for your health, spoke the maid, unaware of the swarm of thoughts swarming through Shen Yu's mind. All she could tell was that Shen Yu became more visibly relaxed after that. Lead the way, responded Shen Yu. This time the voice was a bit more warm, nevertheless it went by the servant's head and she led the way. The dimly lit halls, besides the coming and going servants, were empty, except for little decorations they had on the stone-gray walls. As Shen Yu passed by he could see different paintings of ancestors and of beasts clashing with humans. He could almost hear what seemed like the cries of a dying beast when staring at one of those paintings for a bit long, but continued forwards, disregarding it as his imagination. Something was different about this place now that it was night, but he paid no mind to it once he saw the banquet room. It was as beautiful as it could possibly be if you were to consider the current resources held by the sacred family, filled with gold chairs, beautiful red carpets and an exquisitely designed table. It seems that our animal is the dragon? We never really had a coat of arms, but we always used foxes, dragons, and tigers. When I consider the history of the family, it was marked by exactly that, thought Shen Yu as he looked at the jade and marble statues, as well as the uniquely designed starry pattern on the ceiling. With his thinking able to go far faster than what he normally would, he was able to process and think about all those details before he was reprimanded for what he was doing. Especially since he was the only one standing up while the rest of his family was there. Without a word he made himself to his spot on the table, which was to the right of his elder brother Shen Fei, but while he made his way there he spotted something that nearly made him yelp in surprise. After Shen Yu sat down, the entire family was at the table, starting from Shen Qiu at the left, then in order it was Shen Zong, his youngest brother with black short hair, a handsome face and red eyes. Shen Ru, his sister with a long braid and red hair with black eyes, the inverse of her brother. Shen Xia, his younger brother with curly blonde hair and black eyes, his face was always showed no visible emotion. Shen Feng, his brother same age as him with red hair and black eyes. Himself, Shen Fei, then finally the man that brought him great surprise and a bit of fear, Shen Hong. The meal, although delicious and palatable to his taste, was uneventful and silent for most of the time, giving Shen Yu room to think. Luckily the original never liked eating dog meat, so they didn't serve it, so I am grateful about that, but what should I do? I feel awkward as hell personally, and the mix of emotions I'm experiencing as what I think are the byproducts from the way I took over the body is a confusing mess. If it was the original, he would probably be shaking in fear, anticipation, and worry, making this dinner all the more awkward. Thought Shen Yu, before Shen Hong opened his mouth, coughed, and then asked Shen Fei with a serious look. How is school, son? Shen Hong asked. He sounded like a father who was out of touch and was mostly a deadbeat with his kids still trying to connect. In other words, it was awkward. I had a wonderful day except for that one boy from the Snowwind family that bothers me. I have no other issues. My teachers are even considering putting me into a higher course. Responded Shen Fei happily, as if this was a normal conversation between father and son. This nearly broke Shen Yu, but he managed to keep his facade, but inside he was chaotic. What the hell? From what I read about Shen Hong, isn't he supposed to be some arrogant, cruel, and ruthless character? Why is he having a normal father and son conversation with Shen Fei? And why does he have an almost creepy smile on his face? Shit, he is looking at me now. Gotta pull myself together and face this one. Are you feeling better, son? You were out for a week terribly sick, and if you didn't get any better I was going to chop off the doctor's head. Shen Hong said, laughing as if it was just a joke, but in that laughter was something everyone at the table noticed, and that was the killing intent that was within them, sending chills down their spine. I woke up today, father, and I feel great thanks to all the care I have received. Responded Shen Yu, doing his best to follow proper etiquette whenever he ate or talked, which Shen Hong greatly approved of, especially considering his age. Good, very good. Shen Hong spoke joyfully before talking with his sister and the other children. He looks like he is in a good mood today. I guess that something great might have happened in his cultivation. Though Shen Yu before Shen Hong made a major announcement. I have great news. I have gotten major inspiration to break into legend rank, so until I break through I won't be coming out except for during emergencies, and until then just carry along like usual, and Shen Ming will be handling the affairs. After he spoke, Shen Hong left right out of his chair, and the only thing Shen Yu had to say was that it was awkward. Shen Hong was in such a good mood that he forgot his own rule, which was to never leave the kids in a room by themselves with their aunt, because he knew exactly what kind of woman she was. She was a reptile through and through. This is the man who set the rule for a great failure to be death. He seems like a nice old man, and it looks like only a few people here know what he is really like. When Shen Yu thought about the starkly different personas, he shivered a bit in fear, desperately wishing for a cheat, for he knew that failure would mean his death. A/N, entertain us, peasant. Shen Qiu waited for her brother to leave out of what she thought was his range of hearing, before adjusting her posture and faking a motherly tone to the children around the table. Well, now that everyone is here, it's time to start the plan. I was waiting for a chance to pick a suitable target, and between Shen Feng and Shen Yu, it's an obvious choice on who to use. However, that doesn't mean I can't find a way to use Shen Yu. I just need to get past his guard enough, and over the years it's been effective. Nevertheless, unless he shows more worth, my cultivation time is more valuable than this, and I will just end up having him killed or crippled somewhere if he gets in the way. Shen Qiu coldly thought in her mind, using her cultivation and experience to her advantage, keeping a gentle smile on her face. Shen Qiu wasn't quite there yet, and she recognized her talent despite her noble status being far below her brother's, which was why she needed something for her status to stay there, but she wanted to control, not to be controlled. She hated how weak she was and would jump at almost any opportunity to. Currently her best option was one child, and all the children except Shen Yu was connected to some noble household, each with mothers that were still alive protecting them, and if it wasn't for that outer shell of his pushing her away, Shen Yu would have been they. Chapter 5. Shen Qiu sighed briefly before talking. It was time for the acting to begin. First start with Shen Xian. She looked him in the eye before rubbing his head affectionately, taking in his obviously downcast expression. Why can't father stay with us? It was much more fun than that cultivation thing, right? Asked Shen Xian to his second mother. You are right, Xianer. Everyone, one of you is funner than cultivation, but your father needs to work hard to protect us from bad guys and from losing our status in order to keep it. Shen Qiu replied. Continuing her Oscar-worthy performance, she once again opened her mouth. He needs to keep cultivating and is depending on all of you to become worthy of the sacred family name. As high nobles, there is a reason why we are far above commoners. That correct, Shen Fei? She asked confidently, knowing that the years she spent shaping her image was working and in fact planned to make Shen Fei more closed from reality through his maids. Shen Yu was observing this and had calmed down, no longer freaking out, but he wasn't blind to what she was doing. It was basic and simple indoctrination. It's because we pay the most that we are better than them. From the moment we are born, we have to feel this pain that these commoners can blissfully ignore, and while we fight to protect the land, they serve us in return. It's natural for the weak to serve us to avoid the pain of the strong, and that is why we have this authority. That is why we can be arrogant. It's because we deserve it. Spoke Shen Fei with some affection, being eloquent, but only him, Shen Qiu, and Shen Ming knew that those words weren't his. This sparked both pride and sadness in the hearts of Shen Fei's siblings, but for Shen Yu there was something more in that statement that made him deeply wonder about something. How did he go from this to the ignorant, selfish, lustful, and cruel man he was in the future? Did Shen Qiu really have that much of an impact, or was it something else that triggered it? Questions for later. I need to be more cautious and must study carefully in the future. It looks like I don't only have to watch out for Nai Lai, thought Shen Yu before glancing at Shen Qiu with the same eyes as everyone else. Shen Qiu inwardly smirked when she saw Shen Yu's eyes and recalled that Shen Yu never knew he was going to meet his father until today. Looks like he was more nervous of me than normal, but for what reason? Was it puberty? Thought Shen Qiu before speaking up once more. In 6 months we will be having a secret trip to a very fun place. If I do say so myself, this will be one of the best places you have ever been to. Make sure to let your mother know, and Shen Yu, you can decide yourself if you want to come with us or not, she announced. Seeing the others nod, she left her seat, and with her meal already finished, she walked off with a small sway in her hips to prepare for the following stages. In the meanwhile, each of the children left one by one, with Shen Yu being one of the first to leave. 5 minutes later, Shen Yu arrived at his room and walked in before closing the door with slightly heavier thoughts. I need to train, but I don't know what to do, and although hard, I am part of the sacred family, so why not make use of it? For all my pre-knowledge, it will be useless if I mess up the timeline majorly, and I don't believe I am strong enough to afford that, and although some things will change to me existing, I don't think that training would cause that big of a difference. Tired from the day, Shen Yu laid to rest, not knowing how wrong he was with how things would change. Waking up early in the morning, something that he did often in his previous life, he began doing a slight warm-up in his room. Today is going to be a good and productive day. I don't know what needs to get done, nor do I have a solid plan. But I know I need to be strong for whatever comes my way, and a good way to do so is to head over to the academy they have for all main and branch children. While it's required for the branch children, it's not required from the main family for reasons I don't understand, thought Shen Yu to himself, smiling as he did a few jumping jacks. After taking a cool-down walk, Shen Yu then started reading, and as for meditation, that was a bit too much for him at the moment, and he would prefer to read the books he had instead, so he spent the next 30 minutes going each one slowly. Some of these books touched upon different educational topics like the meridian system, and some knowledge on inscriptions, while others were just some fantasy ones to read for fun, but to his disappointment the writing was shit, and one of the worst of the books he read was called Love in 1,000 Steps. What the hell? The main character, despite having over 2,000 mu of land and being the strongest and richest on the little red continent, got slapped around by a crazy little girl that's not only in love with the MC, but has multiple marriage contracts to different people from questionable circumstances. Not only that, she also somehow got her abilities sealed away, so now the MC has to fight one of the dudes and their 7 generations of ancestors to find the ingredients to an antidote. Then it turns out that the MC mixed up the herbs, causing him to transform his future wife into a man. This really is Love in 1,000 Steps, but why is this in the Sacred Family Library? And I am 100% sure this isn't one of the books I took with me from the library. Shen Yu ranted while roaring in grief about what he read unknowingly to him. The servant who picked up the book slipped this in order to not have this book on his record but never found the chance to take it back. And ha ha ha. But all this self-talk and binge reading was just a way to temporarily cope with the situation. The best way to handle this is to stay calm and positive. Until I learn all the details, I won't be able to tell if this is an O or not. What I need to do is blend in and also hang out with my siblings more, so heading to school and playing games with them might help. I also need to find toilet paper soon or its equivalent, thought Shen Yu in his mind. After putting the book in the needs to be destroyed with a fire pile, Shen Yu changed and got ready in informal school attire. Once he was ready, he stood near the door waiting for a servant to knock on the door. According to my memories, the servant should arrive right Abu. Knock. 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 Shen Yu's thoughts were interrupted by the knock on the door. You may enter, spoke Shen Yu with a bit of haughtiness. The door opened, revealing the servant on the other side. He had average looks and was well-muscled, standing temporarily taller than Shen Yu. Young master, today what would you like for breakfast? Asked the head servant. Steamed buns. Just send them to the family academy since I have decided this morning to head there today, Shen Yu said with a slight smile on his face. Chapter 6. This seemed like a simple command, but this was a way for him to test his authority. If he was able to get this done without much fuss, then his authority was enough to enact some plans. But if not, the following days will be troublesome. The servant knew better to ask why his master suddenly wanted to go to school now. He instead just nodded and headed for the kitchens. Not like it's my problem anyways. It's just information I need to get to the madam. I could only dream to be with her, and under normal circumstances I wouldn't be able to speak to her, but thanks to that foolish and gullible brat I am able to have a 5-minute chat with her. I just need to find a way to her heart, and it's only up from there. The servant made a slightly perverted grin before quickly taking it off his face and reporting Shen Yu's actions. This servant wasn't the only one under Shen Yu's hold. Many others in some seemingly unimportant roles along with a few nobles wanted to get close to her, but she never slept with any of them, and no one dared throw around rumors after seeing how the last guy ended up while she was attending the Holy Orchid Institute. Nevertheless, with the help of Shen Yu and the speed at which her pawns moved, before Shen Yu stepped on the premises inside his new classroom was a plate of hot buns in a spot near the front. What is this? Fast food. 3 minutes before the arrival of Shen Yu. Hey. Listen up, you brats. Today we have a special guest coming into class for the first time today, and if you offend this person you are courting death. The only reason I am explicitly stating this to you children is because some of you here decided it would be a fun idea to pull pranks on the new students coming through. You must not displease this person or else I will have your heads, announced the headroom teacher, receiving nods and yawns in response, causing his face to twist slightly in anger. Is this clear? Roared the teacher, allowing his soul force to temporarily leak out, waking up the students and putting them into slight fear. Yes, teacher, responded all the students loudly with enough zeal to think they just received the most important orders of their lives. Each one of them had their own considerations, and that was what was expected from them. But at most, with Shen Yu's status, they can only expect decent positions. It would be hard for him to contend for the seat without enough talent, and currently they wouldn't know until he turned 10. There were rumors that the head patriarch fell in love with a commoner, but she died during a conflict with a few noble families after giving birth to Shen Yu. But no one knows where the rumor started with. The only real fact was, besides the sacred family, Shen Yu had no ties to any other noble families. The teacher nodded, satisfied from this result, and sat on his desk dissipating his soul force before hearing a knock on the door. The doorknob turned, revealing a neutral-faced Shen Yu. Despite being hungry, he sat down on the chair of an empty desk and got out the books he brought with him here from his study. The teacher was about to speak up, but another knock came to the door, so he opened it and was just ignored by the servant delivering the food and placing it onto Shen Yu's desk. Despite the food arriving here earlier than Shen Yu, it was important for the food to be warm when delivered. Man, I am hungry. Good things the steamed buns are good and warm here. I should introduce myself now to the class before I eat and enjoy true privilege. Since despite me not being the future patriarch I am still second in line to the position. But I hope eating these steamed buns won't give me diarrhea, that would be a nightmare. Thought Shen Yu in his mind before standing up, getting out of his chair and politely addressing his classmates. Nodding his head and saluting with a palm fist, Shen Yu respectfully greeted his classmates. Greetings, my name is Shen Yu, second son of the Lord Patriarch. Spoke Shen Yu confidently. He was gradually getting used to being from a noble family, but it still took some work, and he wished he had taken acting classes, but thanks to Shen Yu's memories it came easily to him as flowing water despite its awkward feeling. One major rule was that unless given permission, children of the patriarch cannot claim their father's name unless acknowledged by him, and it went even to the firstborn son. So when addressing his origins he would say Lord Patriarch in front of family and Sacred Family Patriarch in stranger's view. Welcome, young Master Yu. Today we are covering medicine and logistics, said the teacher to Shen Yu. Thank you, said Shen Yu quickly, sitting in his seat and started his meal with as much elegance and manners he could do without looking too constrained. One of the big differences between him and the original Shen Yu was that he only used the bare minimum of manners to not look like a slob at the table, aiming for as much efficacy as he can with food. While Shen Yu was raised to be prim and proper with his father's specifically hired tutors who carved the manners into his 8-year-old bones. The teacher held his gaze onto Shen Yu a few seconds before starting the lesson, wanting to do a refresher course on his previously covered topics. Shen Yu just happened to come at the right time. Today class we will be discussing the different medicinal herbs we use for refining potions and healing wounds. Spoke the teacher, pulling out a few sticks of grass. The one in his left held a yellow spotted grass while his right was holding a red spotted grass. Listen up. When you the grass on the right you can numb small pain, but when you use the one on the left you can stop bleeding. But the most important thing to remember is to always have a 2-to-1 ratio, otherwise you will die from the high toxicity of the medical ingredients. The more spots, the stronger the power of the grass. So always adjust for the strength of the grasses. For that we will use our medical incubus. But can anyone tell me the problem with this? What about you, Shen Zayat? Questioned the teacher, asking one of his brightest students. The problem is that the medical incubus takes too long to configure and switch between the different strengths of medical properties. Answered Shen Zayuan. Correct. Which is why alchemists are so valuable. We at the Sacred Family now pre-refine and prepare material already measured and weighed for small medications and the like, so when you take missions in the future you will be able to get them at a cheaper price than ordinary servants and cultivators. The teacher spoke with a sage-like tone, and then from there the class went outside and played games. There was nothing that interested Shen Yu much, and none of the students he found were those he could have genuine friendships with. It's all too boring. Due to this boredom, Shen Yu started getting uncomfortable, so he ended school early and instead decided to go home. I can just read upon the content and just come by when necessary for me. Maybe some physical classes for martial arts would be handy, thought Shen Yu, as he left for his residence. He was walking for a while before he came across his brother Shen Qian walking around alone with not much supervision, and got hit with some nostalgia of his past life and his own family. Maybe they can be my new family? No, I don't think anyone can replace them, but this is a good time to start connecting with them and gain allies. Thought Shen Yu briefly before speaking to Shen Qian. Shen Qian, where are you headed? Spoke Shen Yu to Shen Qian curiously. Chapter 7. Shen Qian had a small body for his age, with red hair and simpler clothes compared to his elder siblings. He looked more like his mother, taking her eyes and facial structure and only having his father's nose and hair. Just trying to find someone to play with. Shen Qian responded back, who was pretty lonely despite the big family he had. Shen Qian was hoping that someone would play with him, for his mother was too busy talking with the other mothers. Why not? We can do some archery, and getting to know my family would be good. It doesn't make sense to be enemies with everyone in my family over Nai Lai, who hates this new identity of mine anyways. Thought Shen Yu quickly before speaking up. Want to go do some archery with me? It's been extremely boring lately. spoke Shen Yu. Shen Qian smiled happily, glad to finally hang out with one of his siblings that doesn't annoy him like his sister. At the same time he was very excited since he never did play with any of his brothers before. I want to play, responded Shen Qian with enthusiasm. Then follow me, Shen Yu said, relying on his memories to reach the archery field that was already fitted with restocked equipment. The archery range was of great history. 150 years ago a sacred family patriarch was obsessed with archery and would spend his childhood days shooting arrows at targets, and back then there wasn't much space or money to accurately practice his skills, so he trained in the forest to hunt. When he became patriarch of the family, the first thing he did was redo the archery range. The patriarch expanded it to the size of 2 miles, and transplanted various shrubs, trees, animals, and plants while also placing different-sized targets all around the field. Since then it was improved upon and added half a mile in size in recent years, with Shen Yu's interest in the archery field being known by his father, the current Pariach Shen Hong. Walking into this field made Shen Yu more relaxed, as if this was his home, and it kind of was for the original Shen Yu who spent most of his time here, causing him to feel deeply connected from where he spent most of his childhood. Shen Yu picked up a 24-pound bow that now felt lighter in his hands thanks to the medicinal nourishment during his 1-week period. Turning to face Shen Qian, Shen Yu opened his mouth and gave out some instructions. Take the bow over there, and grab the quiver nearby. I will teach you how to shoot an arrow, Shen Yu said, pointing at his old bow he used at Shen Qian's age. Shen Qian grabbed a bow and quiver. Then he faced a target that was about 10 yards away, and although he did not know how to shoot, he at least felt confident that he would be able to hit it from this distance. Now first hold the bow in your non-dominant hand, said Shen Yu, holding the bow in his left hand. Then, grab an arrow from your quiver and knock the arrow like this, said Shen Yu, taking his right hand and taking out an arrow before knocking it slowly. Finally, we'll be using 3 fingers, index, middle, and ring, to pull the bowstring back. The bowstring should rest in the groove of your top knuckles. The arrow's knock should be between your index and middle finger. If that's uncomfortable for you at first, feel free to put all 3 fingers beneath the arrow's shaft. After that, raise the bow to shoulder height, said Shen Yu, doing the actions while explaining them. To draw your bow, pull back and then anchor it before aiming. Always make sure your anchor point is consistent and then fire, Shen Yu said, aiming and firing his bow at a target 70 yards away, hitting dead center. So cool, thought Shen Qian, smiling, and unaware of his elder brother's thoughts. Luckily I didn't miss, otherwise that would be a disaster, and I never used a bow in my life, and by the looks of it I developed a cool elder brother image, he, thought Shen Yu in his mind while giving a devious smile. Now, it's your turn, Shen Qian. Just remember to relax and you will be fine, Shen Yu said to the nervous Shen Qian. Shen Qian knocked the arrow, lifted the bow, anchored it, aimed and whoosh, released it. The arrow ended up hitting the target, and by a bit of luck hit near the center, causing Shen Qian to leap in joy. I did it, exclaimed Shen Qian proudly. Not bad, little brother, said Shen Yu, putting his hand on Shen Qian's head and rubbing it, causing Shen Qian to smile. He was proud of him. It was fun, thought Shen Qian while smiling wistfully. It was really fun shooting the bow and arrow with my big brother, but he might not want to play together again. At that thought his excitement diminished and he had a slight frown. Shen Yu noticed but didn't bring it up. Instead he continued having fun with his little brother, playing tag, hide and seek, and paper rock scissors. He would also shoot a few more archery targets, and it was time for them to go to bed. After walking Shen Qian to his home, who was pouting all the way, Shen Yu poked him on the head and said, let's do it again tomorrow. Replied Shen Qian, happily nodding and agreeing. See you later, big brother. Good night, shouted Shen Qian, waving his brother goodbye as Shen Yu walked off, heading to his room. Sitting down at his desk, Shen Yu smiled to himself, reading a book about a family who do their best to survive together in a city surrounded by demon beast. After he finished reading his books, and eating the nutritious dinner left for him by his personal servant, Shen Yu laid upon his bed and thought to himself, "Family. That is nice." Chapter 8. Shen Yu woke up to a bright morning sky, awake and relaxed from the previous day. He yawned tiredly, getting up and stretching before changing his night clothes into day clothes. "Feels like a great day today," thought Shen Yu before exiting his room and informing the servants to deliver steamed buns to his room as usual, and then headed for the library again. Shen Yu browsed the numerous shelves of books looking for an interesting new hobby to learn when he found a few books on woodworking, statue making, painting, and surprisingly on mental math. After registering the books and being reminded of the due dates of his other books, he walked back to his room, washed his hands, sat down and ate breakfast. Although delicious, I need something else besides steamed buns. The more annoying thing is that I am unable to cook due to my father barring us from the kitchen, saying that it's for women and servants only. So meals are sometimes cooked with the help of my little sister, and the other concubines of my father. Aunt Chiu is horrible at cooking, but she pops in every now and then to chat with the servants. Shen Yu thought to himself, ignoring the nagging feeling in his mind to investigate, and willfully remained within his limits, changing his train of thought to something else. Taking a look at the books, he recalled 2 novels he read in his past life. One was called A Legendary Moonlight Sculptor, featuring a protagonist who could sculpt things that gave different status effects. He even had a sword made for sculpting and killing his enemies. The other one was called Coiling Dragon. Besides the world he was in right now, it was one of the first web novels he read, and thinking about his previous world in life made him a bit sad. If one day I can control space and time, perhaps I could head back to my original world. Shen Yu thought in his mind. Shen Yu sighed. These are thoughts for later, since I don't even have the strength to fight a bronze-ranked cultivator. Shen Yu thought to himself about opening the books on woodworking and began reading it. Time quickly passed, and at this point it was now 40 minutes until he had to go spend some time with his little brother. So when he closed the current book he was reading on painting and thought about the previous books he read, Shen Yu recalled all of them perfectly with 100% accurate memorization. Is this my cheat, speed reading, and a perfect memory? Thought Shen Yu as he tried to remember different shows and books from his past life and could perfectly remember all of them. God hasn't abandoned me. Shen Yu roared in his mind as he paced around in excitement, since he had a vague intuition that that wasn't all to his cheat ability. Shen Yu went through his next few books even more quickly, and by the time he left to practice archery, he read and memorized all the books he had. But he still took his time since he wanted to enjoy the books more. Arriving at the archery range, Shen Yu looked at Shen Qian and inwardly felt bad for not arriving earlier. He arrived here earlier and looks way more excited seeing me. Is he really that desperate for attention? I feel horrible having him wait like that. Next time I should tell him the time, thought Shen Yu as he picked up a quiver and bow. Brother, are we heading deeper into the forest today? Asked Shen Qian hopefully. No. Responded Shen Yu. We are going to go a bit deeper after you get more comfortable in doing archery in the next few days, and how deep we will go will depend on your results. Shen Yu said in a matter-of-fact tone. Follow me. Directed Shen Yu, as he headed into the forest with Shen Qian unaware of a little red-headed girl observing this and picking up her own bow and arrow, following them as quietly as possible. After a few minutes of walking, Shen Yu picked up some sounds that were not his nor Shen Qian's footsteps, so he raised his hand, stopping with Shen Qian when he heard a flurry of quick steps. A red-headed streak went up a tree, and grabbed a vine, swinging over to kick Shen Qian. Shen Yu reached out his hand and grabbed the feral creature by the scruff of her shirt, holding her still. Not fair, big brother, let me go and hit him. Yesterday Mom said to watch him, but he ran away and got me in trouble. Pleaded the little girl, whining to Shen Yu. The girl had wild red hair, and bigger eyes than the typical person, with a cute pouty face, and wore overly fancy clothes. Spoiled, thought Shen Yu, as he looked her in the eye. Opening his mouth, Shen Yu spoke to her. Listen, I am the one who took him to the archery field yesterday. Why not do some archery with us instead of trying to hit Shen Xian? It's fun and we can teach you how to shoot, seeing the archery equipment on you already. Shen Yu said as convincingly as possible. Fine. Mumbled the little red-headed girl named Shen Ru. Shen Yu let her go, and Shen Ru proceeded to pet herself down before looking at Shen Xian. Stinky little brother, watch how I beat you, said Shen Ru in a bratty tone. I'm not little, you old hag, Shen Xian said viciously to his sister. Why you? You little, spoke Shen Ru, trembling in anger before getting cut off by Shen Yu. If you both keep arguing, I can take you both back to Auntie, Shen Yu said quickly, not letting them get a word out. He was getting annoyed at the antics and just wanted to get back to having fun in the forest. Sorry, big brother, both of the siblings said apologetically before glaring at each other. Sighing, Shen Yu walked off and led the group around the forest while the two siblings behind him did their best to bother the other, from petty insults and sticking out tongues to trying to constantly outdo the other in many competitions. Hey stupid egg, why do you have such a stupid egg-looking face? Shen Ru said to Shen Xian, sticking out her tongue at him. Be quiet, you yellow-faced woman, Shen Xian quipped back, greatly annoyed by his elder sister. Despite not completely knowing what it meant, he used it anyways since he overheard his mother using it to describe the other women his father brought in. Bastard, just wait until we get home, said Shen Ru, shrieking in anger because she knew very well what it meant, so she decided to beat him up when they got home. So what? For you to cook me dinner, responded Shen Xian, laughing in his mind. That's it. I am putting spicy stuff in his food and then burning it. That popo head just pisses me off too damn much, thought Shen Ru as her eyes blazed with anger but then went icy cold. It was better for her plan if Shen Xian was caught off guard. But despite being annoyed at both of their antics, Shen Yu had a good time with the both of them as he ran around stopping them from doing things that were too stupid, while also doing some archery tricks or relying on his memory to show weird and amazing things in the archery field. Sadly, it was time for Shen Yu to go do some more important things and took them both home after another. It's time for me to go somewhere, spoke Shen Yu as he watched his siblings having another one of their stupid completions on who can find the most bugs. But sadly for Shen Ru, Shen Qian did not care about this competition and instead put a centipede in her hair. Shrieked Shen Ru. Get it out! Get it out! Get it out! She pleaded while rolling around trying to get the bug out her hair when Shen Yu walked over and took out the bug before flinging it away quickly. Okay, it's time to head home, Shen Yu said to his two quarreling siblings. Older brother, we don't want to go back so soon. Let's play some more, spoke Shen Ru in a rare turn of events. Shen Qian agreed. But despite their pleading, Shen Yu dragged the two of them to their home, ignoring both of his little siblings' cries to stay longer. It was now afternoon time and soon the evening would come and he wanted to get out of the house to buy a few things at the market. See you guys tomorrow, I got some things I need to handle, Shen Yu said, and after saying goodbye he walked off back to his home. Chapter 9. Arriving at his home, Shen Yu walked into his room and quickly changed. He was already used to the new way of dressing himself, so he was rather quick about getting ready in at the door. Walking through the courtyard, he headed to the exit point reserved for the main family members, and showed a silver seal to the guards there. The seal was a token given to each young master of the family once they are of age 8 to collect a group of 5 guards and 3 servants to travel with them to where they wish within Glory City. Each time it was used, the token was logged and tracked by the head of security, and once approved, a selection of off-duty guards and servants were then arranged along with a luxurious carriage. The seal also demonstrated the given authority to the young master. It went from gold to half gold to pure silver to half copper to copper. While Shen Yu was waiting, another young boy came by the same age as him. To describe his appearance would be good-looking but not handsome like Shen Yu was. The youth had a lanky body and sword-like eyebrows, with an oval face with skin that was well taken care of and long, red hair that was held together with a fox pin. The boy's name was Shen Feng, who previously was at the family banquet and held a lot of inner resentment for Shen Yu and Shen Fei. Taking out his token, Shen Feng showed it to the guard before putting away with well manners. The reason why he was so insulted and had much resentment inside was that his status was lower than the tainted blood ahead of him in the family line. His token was half silver part copper. That bastard, always having a smug-looking face but not for long. There is no way a half-blooded commoner like you can stand up to me that has the blood of two noble families. I wish both you and Shen Fei would just drop dead already. Once our talent is tested, I am completely sure our status would change. I can't wait to see how you look later. Shen Yu placed his attention on Shen Feng, and although Shen Feng hid it well, Shen Yu could feel the slight resentment emanating from his other brother. But why so bitter towards your own family? Shen Yu questioned in his mind before opening up and speaking to his brother while they both waited for their carriages. What brings you here? Are you heading to the market? Shen Yu asked. Trying to at least talk with him, but Shen Feng was just too livid to speak after being reminded of his status and didn't want to risk what he might say next. The carriages arrived, and for Shen Yu it was the first time experiencing going outside and riding in a carriage. The animals for his and Shen Feng carriage were both white spirit horses, but the differences came with the guards and the carriages themselves. Shen Yu's carriage could fit 8 people inside and 3 outside, including the driver. The carriage was decorated in with 2 silver and gold dragons printed on each side of the carriage, along with 1 solid golden dragon encrusted with rubies and gems crafted on the top of the carriage. Shen Feng's was similar, but his had smaller dragons with a silver dragon on top. Each side of the carriage had 2 silver dragons and 1 copper one chasing each other on a red background. After the guards arrived, the carriage doors opened from the inside, revealing the maids and the young masters were guided into the carriages before taking out of the sacred family property and into the high areas of Glory City. During the ride, Shen Yu did basic arithmetic in his mind and worked on his calculation abilities. There was a novel he read years ago about a man who was in a game world with a skill to calculate the weak points of his opponents. With that skill, although powerful, it took a while to calculate based on the strength of the opponent, but if he was a mathematician it wouldn't take as much time as it did. If I had that skill, I can go unbridled through the rest of my life, but I am not sure if this technique would work in the first place, not to mention that I don't know how creating cultivation techniques works here at all, but it doesn't hurt trying. 7/5/3 equals 33 plus 2 or 11, 3 plus 2 or 11.666 with repeating sixes. Thought Shen Yu as he rode peacefully in the carriage and continued doing math in his mind to bide the time. After a while, Shen Yu's carriage stopped at the entrance of the higher Nobel market before showing a insignia and moving along into the streets of the market area. Glory City had 3 markets, one for the wealthy major and noble families, one for the general cultivator population, and one for the commoners. The commoners were forbidden from going to the upper market but could freely go to the other 2, but the same restrictions didn't apply to the noble families, who could go anywhere they wanted within reason. There wasn't much segregation between the aristocrats in Glory City, but only those from a major family could ride a carriage in the market while the rest were forced to walk. So Shen Yu could see the envious and yearning gazes in his carriage. "Young Master Shen Yu, do you have any specific shop you wish to see?" asked one of the servants in the carriage before they came to a stop at a temporary station for a list of goods. Meanwhile, Shen Feng's carriage had gone into the cultivators district. Then the guards and Shen Feng switched to a more low-key and anonymous carriage before heading off into the dark areas of the commoner district. This risky operation would have to do for now, until he could get his special items in another district. Chapter 10. 3 unmarked boxes were in the carriage along with 1 mysterious and wealthy-looking purple pouch. Shen Feng then had the guards do a few maneuvers to make sure they were not being tracked, and then transferred the goods into his previous carriage inside a small crease before heading home. Although his mother's people were with him in the carriage, there inevitably might be leaks somewhere, but the only one capable of this would be his father's, so the sooner he got home without being spotted the better. He had no need to worry about the loyalty of the guards since they couldn't speak and was owned by his mother. While Shen Fang was having his own thoughts, Shen Yu was making his own decisions, taking a look at the list of goods and shops given to him, but was relieved and disappointed. Happily and sadly, there is no such thing as toilet paper, so although I suffer temporarily, I can make a lot of money with the knowledge from my past life, and soon I need to start implementing it. For that I need workers, and a lab built for myself. But that much money doesn't come easily. At least, I have an idea to get some funding from the family that's more obviously impactful and at the start more profitable in the short term than my other ideas. For now I need to make connections with the Craftsman Guild and order my instruments to be made. Thought Shen Yu. Take me to the Craftsman Guild so I can make a few orders, and make me some tea. He spoke in a steady but stout voice, commanding his servants. His servants quickly got to work and drove the carriage to the Craftsman Guild, allowing Shen Yu to relax. The ride would be a long ways away, but he occupied his time by drinking tea and doing different arithmetic in his mind. I think I can live the rest of my life like this. Shen Yu thought to himself as observed the rapidly changing scenery. About 2 hours later, Shen Yu arrived at the Crafting Guild and looked at his servants and guards. These were well-trained men and women who would respond to his every need, willing and forced to do almost anything he desired. That almost will be removed if he manages to become the next in line for the patriarch position. Set up a meeting with 2 high-ranking craftsmen and bring them to the carriage and tell them I have a very important project and I want the guild working on it. Shen Yu spoke to his subordinates, emphasizing the word important. And while they had no idea what that project entailed, it was none of their business, and after a period of discussion 2 guards and 2 servants headed to the building along with a token signaling the sacred family. The Craftsman Guild's building was magnificent and huge, with many different pieces of art and expensive materials, but not as much as a major noble family. The Craftsman Guild did not to offend the nobles by having a better looking place than the major aristocratic families, because despite their wealth their rank in society was low. 2 guards stood tall across from each other near a pair of golden doors, and moved when they saw Shen Yu's servant approaching. But they did not speak recklessly because of the servant's familiar uniform. "Token please," asked the guard who was first to move with long blonde hair. He was just a normal mob but had hopes of being a craftsman one day, but for now he wasn't even a 4th grade craftsman, and his dreams of reaching 1st grade had low odds. One of the servants showed the token, and then the guards for the Craftsman Guild proceeded to make way and allowed them to enter. Walking into the building, they did not search for the guild master, since considering their young master's status it would be too imprudent, so they found 2 second-ranked craftsmen and brought with them to the carriage with the allure of gold. One was named Lian Huo, a stout and stubby person with a grand mustache, and the other was named Peng Ju, who was lanky and more refined looking, but his hands were especially delicate and was clearly well taken care of. But both of them were unsure about what a little 8-year-old kid wanted, but both of them needed gold for research projects, so they waited. "I need someone who can forge some things for me as well as a woodworker. Both of you fit those requirements, right?" asked Shen Yu unhurriedly. Both of them nodded yes, and their eyes widened as Shen Yu took out and showed them 4 parchments. It was for 2 things. One was an instrument called the Daichin, A/N. For the sake of us all I will refer to it as the cello from now on. And the second was called a jita. I'm using the word guitar, and both were something they had never seen before. Shen Yu had briefly considered using the crafting guild to produce his agricultural tools and some other things he well read upon, but thought better from it for a few reasons, but a major one for him would be that the benefits of doing that was not worth it. Selling the technology would not only stop him from monopolizing the tools, but it would also put more spies and forces on what's already surrounding him once the value is realized. So the best way to build a relationship and get what he wants would be to order something he wouldn't mind being made for others, and considering the current cost of the item's development, no one would actively seek to buy the instrument unless it was a bad attempt of gaining his favor. "Sir, you want us to make these things?" asked the short man in a more respectful voice than intended, since despite the crude drawings the idea behind them was if it has been refined thousands of times before arriving at the most perfect form it could be. This meant to blacksmith and woodworker that they needed to fill some very high expectations, and failure to deliver would be a disaster for them, but they couldn't easily decline a request from one of the major noble families. "Did I not say so earlier?" I need prototypes of these made from regular materials, and after looking at a few models we will use spirit materials. Shen Yu said, making them feel relieved that he wasn't a tyrant like most of their noble clients. Rest assured, in the next few days I will complete the assignment with haste. Spoke the tall and skinny man. For him, the sooner he could make the prototypes the better for him. I swear upon my family name that I will work until it satisfies you, my lord. The short man said, bowing slightly. You may leave, it's a long trip back to the manor. Shen Yu said before handing them a coin. The package will go straight to me and no one else. Here is my token for when you deliver the demo products, and make sure you come only to me and no one else. Shen Yu said, kicking them out of the carriage quickly. Shen Yu's crew then went slowly back to the manor, and Shen Yu was eager to know more about his situation, but there was nothing he could talk about to them, so he only could observe and infer from the reactions of people, so he once again relaxed doing math and drinking tea. Chapter 11. It's been 1 week for Shen Yu, and besides going to fitness class and reading books in his spare time, he also got more familiar with his siblings, and he managed to improve his archery. Unknowingly to him, the wheel in his mind kept spinning around, gathering dust from around itself, grinding it, and then releasing it inside his body. Then the body would absorb the dust, as if it was starving with ravenous hunger. And once all the dust was absorbed, the process was started all over again. Currently Shen Yu was busy practicing math while meditating. Young master, they have arrived, spoke a servant. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the manor, 2 people, both with strangely made cases, were standing still as if waiting for someone or something. One was short and big, with bushy brown hair, the other tall and skinny, with black hair and longer nose. They were both craftsmen hired by Shen Yu, and although the order was made to find out what it was, Shen Yu didn't know what exactly was made due to a temporary inability to steal the drawings. She only had one spy in there and wasn't able to do much before her movements were restricted, so after getting a few details from the guard she planted in Shen Yu's carriage, she awaited for them to arrive. The 2 craftsmen didn't have to wait long when a few snobby-looking servants made their way and greeted them. The purpose of your visit? Asked the leading servant in an obnoxious and snooty voice with a glint in his eye. We have some items for young Master Yu, spoke the taller and skinnier craftsman. Your names, said the servant. He was obviously hostile, so the craftsman quickly showed the token while saying their names, albeit in a more disrespectful tone. Lian Huo, said the short man. Peng Ju, spoke the tall one. Hand over the cases, the servant said arrogantly, giving a sign to the other 2 servants behind him. Both arranged for a fight. What's 2 servants compared to the young master that showed up? There are obviously some reasons he wanted us not to give the cases, and showing hostility so fast means it might not be as simple we thought Lian Ho. Still, this might only be a test, and in that case we can get some great favor if we follow the young master's commands, so the best thing to do is to keep to his original instruction, thought Peng Ju. I guess it means a fight, thought Lian Ho while scanning around the area. Besides the convenient enough space to fight, there were very few things that could be used for cover except a couple of statues and small trees that were leading into the manor. The rest was just dirt and the possibility of others coming to back up the other servants, which was the real worry of Lian Ho and Peng Ju. For now it was just a standoff between the 2 groups of fighters, each trying to read the other's mind. The tension could be felt with a knife, and for 3 minutes no one moved a muscle. The sun in the sky was ball-raying with heat, and sweat started to build onto all but Peng Ju, who was a blacksmith. Each one of the fighters had their senses focused to the max, and when a drop of dew from the plant hit the ground, all fighters moved at high speeds towards each other. Then was followed by a beauty of martial arts, each strike practiced with the utmost dedication, and it was as if each movement was guided by the wind as they elegantly danced with their battle. Moving through the battle with a cautious heart, Lian Ho used his superior footwork, twisting left then right, then shadowing his opponents before widening the distance for Peng Ju to lay heavy haymakers with his fist, while Lian Ho assisted with sharp kicks and a small blade hidden within his sleeves. This forced the group of servants into a stalemate despite their slightly superior cultivation and firm coordination. The first servant was the one silently giving commands and staying out of the battle while the two servants beside him were doing most of the grunt work to allow the first servant to position himself better, but then it happened. Peng Ju let his guard down for a brief second and Lian Ho was in the midst of dodging, allowing the bastard of a servant to place himself in the right position and finish the formation. Three-headed wolf formation, thought the servants, who used an extremely vicious formation. They slept around using their bodies and the surrounding environment, trying to gouge, shred, cut, maim and degrade Peng Ju, who now alone started to receive injuries, and although they were minor, every single one of them was a close call. Angered by the injuries, he knew in his heart that Lian Ho, who was trying to break the cycle of attacks, wouldn't be able to help him without inside assistance, so he gathered his soul force and activated his demon spirit. Clear Sky Force Hammer, roared Peng Ju before wielding his soul force and smashing one of the subordinate servants' bodies in the right shoulder, breaking his arm and ribcage, sending him flying. Wood carving blade, roared Lian Ho. White-spotted crouching tiger, roared the servant who started all this. Ainijinkin will kill you today, shouted the man with the white-spotted tiger. Flaming monkey, the embarrassed subordinate said before rushing towards the two along with his boss Nijinkin, who activated his claws before giving a fury of blows towards Peng Ju, while the subordinate just charged headfirst towards Lian Ho while coating his arms with some soul force. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 16, 100. It didn't matter how many times he attacked. Peng Ju seemingly parried each strike blow for blow while Lian Ho focused his soul force around his blade. First form carving technique, shape, thought Lian Ho, and with that the subordinate of Nijinkin was cut down, leaving just Enikin. The battle between Enikin and Peng Ju was coming to a climax, but then a hole was exposed in Enikin's guard, leaving him open to Peng Ju, which he tried to exploit. However, before he could do so, Peng Ju was whisked away by Lian Ho and then heard a familiar voice call out to them. "Stop the battle," Shen Yu said, appearing alongside his aunt, which caused the three of them to stop. Chapter 12. That was close. Any more than that and he would have fallen into that shitty trap, thought Shen Yu, who was observing the battle alongside his servant and Aunt Su, who definitely was up to no good with this. What do you mean stop? Peng Ju cried out in anger, only to be hit on his arm by Liao Hao, causing him to notice the small claw marks on his clothing to cause his shirt to deteriorate a bit. Shen Yu remained silent, thinking to himself as Peng Ju realized what would happen if Shen Yu didn't intervene. What Peng Ju didn't know was that Enikin's claws can extend and retract itself in an instant, while also being coated with a special poison produced by the demon spirit beast. It was extremely toxic poison, and every strike Enikin sent was to leave a natural-looking hole in his guard for his opponent to take advantage of. Then he would use a movement technique to close the gap, and as long as he touches him with the claw, Peng Ju would be in a perilous situation. Then the two downed servants would wake up and summon their demon spirit beast, making the true three-headed wolf formation against Liao Hao. That was not to say Peng Ju and Lian did not have their own means, but they were not that willing to destroy the sacred family property, so both sides held back a lot, otherwise Shen Yu wouldn't even be able to see them fighting each other. Shen Yu's hair was long and wavy like the ocean, with the front tied with a top knot but without any ordinates. Instead of his usual black or blue outfit, he instead chose a red hanfu, with gold as a secondary color. It came with wild, dragon-like patterns, giving his already handsome appearance a regal and royal manner. But sadly that did not match his current temperament, which was cold and lazy, as if he was bored of sitting and doing nothing important, but that was far from the truth. Currently he did not know much of what he should do since he was new to this whole reincarnation business, but he knew one thing, and that was he needed to be strong, and until then he should start building his forces and connections. Aunt Su didn't look that much different, except instead of her usual purple color she instead wore pink for today. "So why has a fight started right in front of the gates of our sacred manor?" said Shen Su while thinking otherwise. "Why the hell did you bastards lose? Not only does this look bad on me, who helps manage the servants, but the family prestige was damaged as well. So now you will have their heads off tonight. I have to satisfy my nephew and his guest instead of interrogating him about what he's up to and what his plans are." Ever since that illness he's been lessening the use of his servants and according to my other nephew has been playing with his siblings. The only thing I was able to get from that guard I planted was that he wanted something made. I wish that I could plant more eyes on him, but sadly my excuse I thought out is now down in the garbage and I can only accept this loss. Thought Shen Su in her mind as she continued speaking. No matter. I am sorry nephew, it looks like these servants forgot the ones who are grand nobles are not them but the sacred family. She said, not saying a further word and snapping her fingers left swaying her hips as she walked. Anakin picked up his subordinates in response and followed Shen Su from a distance, leaving Shen Yu and the others by themselves. It was now time for Shen Yu to speak. You did well, keeping them at bay and the goods undamaged, so follow me to my room. Spoke Shen Yu as if he expected that crazy shit to happen, but in reality he didn't expect this at all. He was just really sorry inside but decided to be shameless and just take them under his wing instead. As expected, we passed the test and should be getting greater awards, thought the craftsman as they closely followed Shen Yu. I wonder what we are getting, asked Peng Ju using a set of signals to hold a conversation. I don't know, maybe an invitation to join his force and obtain some backing. Reposant Liao Ho with signals. Are your instincts picking up anything? Asked Liao Ho to Peng Ju with signals. No, it feels safe so far. I never thought this unique demon spirit would come in handy, responded Peng Ju through the sign language. Speaking about your demon spirit, I am pretty sure Shen Yu will ask about that, so we should tell him up front before he asks us about it. We might as well get something out of it instead of seeking potential death. Spoke Liao Ho quickly, using his great dexterity to do the complicated hand movements. Agreed. I hope Shen Yu has a way of communicating secretly, since it's extremely hard without the ability to speak in each other's minds. Signaled back Peng Ju, who was fed up from these long sentences that after a few more rounds of talking would be obvious they were communicating. Same. Let's gather our hope then. Signaled Liao Ho. Agreed. Peng Ju signaled. After a few left and right turns as well as some brisk walking, they arrived at Shen Yu's manor and followed after them, being greeted to a more low-key vibe than they were used to. The room had been positioned as if there was a feng shui master there, allowing for fortune and luck to be attracted and stay at the house rather than leak like the other ones. There were mostly books and differently sculpted items with a wide variety of paintings hung up on the walls. A space was set out presumably for music to be played. Of course, none of the sculptures or paintings looked good, and clearly it was a beginner who recently started practicing how to do these things. The hope of the two craftsmen was that Shen Yu's music wasn't as bad as the sculptures and paintings, otherwise they might have bleeding ears. So after both of them placed the cases down, on the ground, in the musical area, they both waited for Shen Yu to pick one up and start playing music. Chapter 13. Shen Yu walked over to the guitar case and opened it with great care before gently handling the instrument properly, and then proceeded to adjust the strings. As the two listened to Shen Yu tune the instrument, at first it was unpleasant and non-synchronous with the other strings, but as a few minutes went by there was a nice pleasant and sharp sound that was present as he went up and down with a few simple chord progressions. I haven't heard a sound like this before. What about you? Asked Peng Ju. Neither have I. Though I heard something similar to this and it's called the guqin, but the chords sound different. Maybe something can come of this. Lianho said back. Both Lianho and Peng Ju did not hold back their remarks. Earlier, while they were communicating in the hallways, although they did not speak with their mouth, it was obvious they were having a discussion due to the frequent eye contact they kept having to send messages to each other. Now I will perform a short piece I had thought of in my spare time. Shen Yu spoke out loud to them before thinking to himself. It's time to blow them away. I'm sorry my predecessors, but this is necessary for the greater good. I will find some way to give credit, thought Shen Yu as he began playing the chord of the Crimson King on his guitar, and despite it being an acoustic version it sounded pleasant to his ears as he slowly sang the song. The rusted chains of prison moons are shattered by the sun. I walk a road, horizons change. The tournament's begun. The purple piper plays his tune. The choir softly sing. 3 lullabies in an ancient tongue. For the court of the Crimson King. At first Lianhe and Peng Ju were solely listening to the song, but as Shen Yu sang the lyrics and performed, they started to dance and rock together with the music. They couldn't help it. This was something new and exciting they had never heard before, and at that point sold on the idea of producing and distributing Shen Yu's designs if more music like this could be made. They just needed to market towards a younger audience. Shen Yu, sir. What a good Crimson King. Both Peng Ju and Shen Yu said at once. Peng Jun and Lianhe were both satisfied and had more confidence in Shen Yu, and as the song came to a close they had came to a discussion they were now conquered in their hearts. Thanks to Shen Yu's music from his home earth, and his skill in general matters from the designs, to the encounter earlier and now the performance, so now they are ready to serve him fully heartily after hearing the music. Shen Yu held a neutral gaze as he strung his guitar strings, waiting for an answer from the 2 craftsmen, which would be his way into eventually gaining more craftsmen for his other projects. A stunning performance, said Lianhe with a respectful bow and joyful tone. Young master, it was splendid. What do you call the song? Peng Ju asked. I call it the Court of the Crimson King. I plan on selling similar instruments to this one, but I would like to keep the other one only for me, so in exchange for the rights to produce and sell this on my behalf I will take 60% of what is made and the guild can keep the rest, spoke Shen Yu. Despite my backing, they won't take this deal of 60% unless I get my new family involved. At this stage I do not wish to be overly indebted and forced to hand over my earnings, so next should be a few negotiations and I can get a satisfying rate with maybe a few benefits. I am not yet qualified to take the whole pie, so I must share my food with others, but this is only temporary, thought Shen Yu in his mind. Although we are willing to serve you, only getting a 40% cut is too much unless he gets his entire family involved. Despite his backing we are not permitted. But with his young age, I can tell he must be inexperienced. Peng Ju and Lianhe thought for a bit before speaking up. Young master, we will relay your message to the higher-ups, but there is an issue, Peng Ju said in a practiced, worried tone. Shen Yu placed a fake frown on his face and was glad he was getting better at acting, and after a short but clearly unhappy pause, he asked his question. What's the issue? Shen Yu asked Lianhe. The higher UPS are very demanding when it comes to their partners. We have little influence to push this exact deal, unless the young master receives some timely assistance from his neighbors, spoke Lianhe, tiptoeing on the matter, something that Shen Yu viewed as a waste of time on the receiving end. But he understood the importance of the social context and recognized they just became his subordinates, so speaking bluntly in their point of view can get them punished now that they pledged their allegiance socially by supporting the deal. What if I include some personally written songs and the right to advertise this product with my name in the common districts? Shen Yu asked with a slight but visible frown. We still won't be able to push for much, young master, responded Peng Ju as he awaited Shen Yu's words. Fine, just take the deal with you and I will deal with it later, Shen Yu commanded with none of the typical Xianxia or Wuxia young master shenanigans and turned his back to them. This was a mistake on this part, as if he did they would have been slightly more attentive to keeping this potential profit in Shen Yu's hands. It will be done, my lord, Peng Ju and Lianhe both said before leaving the compound quietly and without any trouble or scruples. The moon was a full one that night. Chapter 14. The sun shined brightly in the morning, the skies were clear, and Shen Yu was relaxing at a new table in his courtyard. Sitting in his chair he sipped on some Chinese green tea as he read the classics of this world, which surprisingly enough came from the sacred empire which was luckily chanced upon by his family during the Demon Beast War. It was thanks to his status and a gift he bought for his elder brother that allowed him to temporarily touch this text, which for some strange reason besides his love for reading was drawing him to it, as if some invisible force was influencing him to read it. Tangible yet intangible, obtuse yet clear. Fate is something that can be changed yet cannot be graped. Like a flowing river, it always moves forward guided by destiny into many streams, rivers, and lakes. Shen Yu spoke to himself out loud as he read the text, feeling a faint renaissance with the text. Whoosh. Unbeknownst to him, the wheel in his soul picked up the pace of its turns, increasing the refining speed. To calculate fate and to know destiny. That is the study of numerology. Hong Wang. With this line, the wheel in Shen Yu's soul produced a glow and spun at a faster and faster rate before transferring the glow into Shen Yu's mind, causing him to be enlightened, granting him the seed for his future, and the glow proceeds to be turned into a cold and gray energy within his mind and eyes before fading away. Sadly, his realm wasn't high enough to notice. Big brother, mother said I could head to school with you. Shen Qian shouted excitedly to Shen Yu as he ran over to him with joy before leaping up and hugging him. Come on Shen Qian, don't you see you're bothering big brother, be more responsible. Shen Yu yapped, snapping at Shen Qian while trying to pander to Shen Yu, but in response Shen Qian just stuck his tongue out to annoy and tease her. Snapping out of his short little daze, Shen Yu noticed the argument and broke it apart. Now, that's enough, you guys need to get along. More classes will be starting soon in a few hours, so we can play before that and then get to school. How does that sound? Spoke Shen Yu, trying to reason with his fellow siblings. Yay! Shouted Shen Qian as he foolishly raised his hands and fell on his butt. Idiot, murmured Shen Yu before sheepishly looking away. So for the next few hours Shen Yu, and Shen Qian all played together in the archery field and then ate breakfast right before starting school. Shen Yu was bored in class, but political and family struggles wasn't as bad as he thought it would be, and he was actually enjoying his new siblings' company, but a gnawing feeling on him was saying it wasn't going to last, but he thinks that wouldn't be for at least a few more years. So he didn't mind attending classes. Thanks to having to live in modern society, he was ahead in many general subjects compared to his peers. Soul force originates from the spirit, and we use that energy to cultivate into fighters and demon spiritualists. While fighters can only use physical attacks, demon spiritualists can use many different methods to heal others, destroy our enemies, and create what can be considered divine items by normal people's standards. We are the upper class, and our duty as cultivators is to fight the demon beast and as members of the family protect the family. Spoke to the teacher, watching the class pay more attention before continuing. The meridians in the body below the age of 10 cannot handle soul force, so we cannot gauge your realm until then. However, there are 7 realms of talent we can measure, with red being the weakest, followed by the other colors of the rainbow, with indigo being the strongest but never achieved in the past 10,000 years. You could expect to be a gold-ranked fighter if you have great talent, else you would peak at bronze or silver your whole life. Bloodline is also a factor in inheriting talents, so commoners will all in most likelihood stay commoners, finished the teacher before dismissing the class. Since it was finally over, Shen Yu quickly went out, and after returning the books he didn't read continued to do his usual daily activities, not knowing that he would regret his behavior later. Hangzhu and Lianhou forgot how old their master was when they took what happened to the boss of the Craftsman Association, and Lianhou, the thinner of the two, was beaten hard for what happened before sending back a new deal for taking 65% of the revenue and giving the rest to Shen Yu alongside a shaved toy bear, poking fun at his immaturity. Shen Yu didn't even try to fight this, but after asking for an advance on the money he managed to get the ball rolling. So for the next few months, besides playing archery and reading books, he also began saving that money and storing it away just in case. He also bought himself a set of really well-made knives since he couldn't yet use inscription weapons. Currently he was with a clothing designer to change his outfit so that it could hide more weapons while being convenient for him to take out. But when he finally got the order, someone else was waiting in his home. It was his brother Shen Fei. So when he arrived at his manor, he was slightly surprised seeing him in his chair reading one of the books he borrowed about inscriptions, something he was interested in and recently learning. This is pretty advanced material for your age, little brother. I heard you were doing well in your classes. Shen Fei remarked, asking an obvious question to fuel the conversation. Yes, recently I have found myself more and more interested in the subject, and wish to one day collect all information regarding the subject into my personal library. Shen Yu replied without batting an eye, trying to remember why his elder brother was here. Remember to pack light. We are leaving this afternoon for the trip, Shen Fei said before quickly leaving with the book into needing this for his studies at school. Chapter 15. The sacred family main household all got into a carriage with everyone doing different things. Shen Qiu was conversing with Shen Fei while giving glances at Shen Feng, who was looking at her in a weird way, while Shen Ru and Xian both competed for Shen Yu's attention, who was reading a book on mental arithmetic written by a bored demon spiritualist who cultivated this ability to what he deemed as the apex. This was the family, his family. Although dysfunctional and steeped in weird traditions, he was enjoying his reincarnation so far. After a few hours they arrived at their location, which was the Inscriptionist Association. The building was actually 3 stories total below ground and was created as a shelter and record holder of humanity, built by a worm demon spiritualist along with a plant one, so it was extremely unique in that aspect. After the carriage stopped, the family left it with a good amount of enthusiasm, and walked into the building without the guards and went to what could be considered a reception desk. After Shen Qiu showed the pass she obtained, the woman who was at the reception desk began having a conversation with her. "How many people this time, and who did you want?" spoke the reception lady to Shen Qiu, as both their hips swayed as she and Shen Qiu walked down the stairs with the eldest sibling of Shen Yu following right behind them, getting a full view. "You Chayu, just you and I came with payment," Shen Qiu said as Chayu got the message, and after a few secret signals began giving them a tour of the place underground. The underground building was decorated in amber light, and photos along with a short description of the inscription masters were on this floor, and below them continued the inscription they contributed to the restoration of the inscription system. The interesting presentation soon became boring, and it was when this happened that Shen Qiu took over and took the youngest siblings into a different world with their ancestors in there and began teaching them about the sacred family's glory, leaving Shen Fei alone with Chayu. By the time they were all in the carriage, Shen Fei had a weird look on his face along with some exhaustion and disgust. While the rest were tired from a large amount of information learned while there, and they each, excluding Shen Fei, got to learn about something interesting, like their ancestor of theirs who made it possible for camping tools to be made with inscriptions he found on an adventure outside of Glory City. "We are now going to take a trip to a forest, and for a few days, we will be staying at a nearby inn over there. Shen Yu and Shen Feng both will be sharing a room together. Shen Fei has his own room and I will be with Shen Ru. Any questions?" Shen Qiu, and interested in the forest they were heading to, Shen Yu asked his question. "Are we going to say Indy the forest and then head to the inn, or after heading to the inn? Also, which forest are we visiting?" asked Shi Yu with glee before he quickly received his answer. "We will be staying at the inn for a few days and do a 2-week trip in the forest, and after that, we will stay in the inn to rest before going home. Any more questions?" she asked. While giving out the message, she didn't want to speak. Observing the faces of her family, she takes the straight-laced faces as a sign and begins resting for what is coming up next. 6 days later they finally arrived at the forest, and from Shen Yu's perspective, in order for Shen Qiu to deepen the camping experience, she split them into different teams and had them collect the supplies needed for the night. Shen Qiu and Shen Ruan both set up the campsite and tent. Shen Yu and Shen Feng went looking for dry wood, while Shen Fei along with Shen Xian hunted a few rabbits for food. Shen Feng had a dull look on his face as he walked with Shen Yu, who had a book in hand, as they looked for wood. Shen Feng's eyes had a glint in them as they collected more wood, and the longer he thought, the longer the whispers went into his ears. Things were nearly at a tipping point when Shen Yu was looking over the edge of a river to admire it. Shen Feng's body moved closer to Shen Yu. He was in an arm's reach, pushing him off to his death, and if he had any other urges, no one would be able to hear them during the loud sounds in the deep forest along with the rushing noises of the river. As his hand moved closer and closer, each inch represented the lifespan of his elder brother, when suddenly Shen Yu opened his mouth. "You can hardly hear anything over the river. We wasted enough time and it's getting late, so we need to set up the campfire soon, right, Shen Feng?" spoke Shen Yu, suddenly turned around to face his brother. This woke up Shen Feng, and he quickly turned what he was about to do into a firm affirmation and a smile, placing his hand on his elder brother's shoulder with a smile Shen Qiu taught him to practice. Shen Feng's back was sweating like crazy. He nearly couldn't believe what he did. If he was to die right now, it would be too obvious. Even if I hate his guts, he is still my brother, thought Shen Feng to himself, with his breath a bit disorderly, but he still acted calmly. Of course, brother. Let's leave at once. Shen Feng said quickly before turning around and picking up the wood and walking off to the camp. He really needed his fix of special medicine to calm down. He hadn't had any in a week and a half and it was starting to show on him. Chapter 16. It's been another week for Shen Feng and he thinks of his father. He could remember the small number of times he and his siblings spent near him. Whenever he looked into his father's eyes he saw nothing but disappointment. When he would create drawings for his father he would later find it in the trash. His mother on the other hand, besides wanting to procreate with his father all day, would pay him no attention, and even the servants in the mansion would ignore his existence as if he was worth nothing, as if he could bring no value to the family. That was until he met his aunt, and with thoughts of her coming into his mind, he blushed externally as he smiled, a big grin shining on his face that was unusual to anyone who was used to him. But then he started frowning as he started thinking of his elder brother, who was a commoner, who hasn't looked at with disappointment but instead what he perceived as slight love that Shen Yu stole. It should belong to me, thought Shen Feng angrily before opening a bottle of his special medicine and ingesting all of it. He had a plan, and with the assistance of his beautiful aunt, he would be one step closer to marrying the woman of his dreams and getting rid of the scum who made his day filled with pain every day. Today was the day Shen Yu and Shen Feng hunted for food and berries. For the past week, Shen Yu had been studying the forest they were in, called Red Cliff Forest, due to the many blood-stained cliffs after the Beast War that took place to establish Glory City. He had visited the man landmarks around the forest during his trips, and today was the day he would be visiting the blood-stained cliff, where a special kind of berries grew that raised the quality of soul force in the body, allowing for a higher realm awakening once turning 10. So how did you enjoy the trip so far, little brother? I think Aunt Chiu did a great job. Spoke Shen Yu, and he was very happy since he recently managed to start getting along with another one of his brothers. He picked up his aunt as a topic since he noticed that Shen Feng acted differently when she was mentioned. His eyes would light up like candle lights in the night and a goofy grin would show on his face along with a blush like a red tomato. Shen Yu was worried that his brother liked his aunt a bit too much, and as an older brother thought it was his duty to try and dissuade him from his thoughts. As usual, Shen Feng's attitude changed as he started speaking about her with visible changes on his face, but this time the smile was off-putting and slightly more creepy than it already was. She's the best anyone could ask for, and I enjoyed every moment of suffering it. Sadly soon, your life will end. I am jealous of whoever, besides me, marries her. Spoke Shen Feng with worship in his eyes. I enjoyed the trip too, but I think we could have done with visiting the Alchemy Association and spending less time at the history section at the Inscription Association, and instead watching the inscriptionist making weapons and armor. Shen Yu said to Shen Feng without holding back, causing Shen Feng's face to twist for a second before quickly changing back. I disagree. The history section was very interesting. Did you hear about red spirit berries on the Saint Blood Cliff? Asked Shen Feng, whose eyes were flaming with desire. Yes, in fact, I have memorized a map to the cliff and can take us there to see if we could find any berries. Shen Yu responded quickly, as he started to walk away from the campsite along with Shen Feng in the direction of the cliff. Let's go and see if we get lucky. We could improve our talent and ensure we at least won't get a red soul realm that would embarrass the family. Shen Feng spoke as they walked slowly to the cliff, taking their time as the whispers in Shen Feng's mind increased in frequency and volume. To avoid ruining the plan and settle some things in his mind, he began to tell the story of the cliff. It was a dark and stormy night when our ancestor was fighting the remnant of the Red Jade family, a half-commoner who was trying to claim his spot as their heir to the family along with the treasure that was seized away into our family vaults. Alongside him during the battle was his brother, who never received as much love as the others did. It was then they arrived at a stop facing the top of the cliff, and due to Shen Yu's love for knowledge he disregarded the dangerous signs he might be in due to having gained some trust in his brother over the trip. He was treated as second fiddle, his family looking at him with disappointment with whatever he did, and his resources for cultivation were taken away by his brother. But the most complex thing was that his brother was the kindest to him and always had eyes of love when looking at him. Spoke Shen Feng, twitching continuously before he continued. He felt alone since despite the obvious love his brother had, he was too busy cultivating to play or train with him, so he painted for most of his days until he met the love of his life. Shen Feng stopped speaking when he got there and for 5 minutes was completely silent, the roars in his mind growing louder. So what happened to the eldest brother? Questioned. Shen Yu thought for it to have been a 2-in-1 situation, something had to have turned the tides, and at this point they were both at the edge of the cliff. After stealing his younger brother's wife, he was pushed down the cliff. Before Shen Yu could realize what was happening, he felt a force that he couldn't resist, sending him flying down below the cliff. His eyes widening in realization as the world slowed to a crawl. He could see the raging flames in his brother's eyes that covered the dark abyss in his mind. The roars of depraved beasts could be heard from Shen Feng's voice as he smiled and laughed crazily. He had done it. Shen Feng had finally gotten rid of the scum that plagued his world. Next was the start of what he thought would be a glorious and hard-earned career. Then he said something I will keep in my heart to this day. He said, smiling to himself and continuing the story. You left yourself a vulnerable dumbass, shouted Shen Feng with glee before walking off and spitting down the cliff in hopes of it landing on Shen Yu's face. Thankfully it did not. Never trust anyone but the goddess Shu. Shen Feng thought to himself as he tried to not show the joy on his face and picked some berries on the way to calm himself down. The cliff was huge, so Shen Yu was still falling. Fuck. Shen Yu said as he reached for the cliff, trying to grab and hold onto the protruding vines, but after successfully managing to hold onto them, the initial force coming down was too big, causing the vines to snap. His eyes dilated in shock. His heart quickened akin to a race car as his body felt a cold wave of fear wash over his mind. The only thought in his head at the time was, I am going to die. He was unwilling. He was reincarnated from his luxurious previous life for a chance at real power, but it was all ruined by his own hands. He should have been more cautious and aware like in his previous life. It was foolish just to think that because of his status in the family no one would try to kill him, and if he did not have the thoughts of having plot armor due to being reincarnated as the first antagonist of the novel, he wouldn't be in any danger. Instead, now he was falling further and further and further into his death. When someone is in their final moments before death, they see their life flashing before their eyes, and sometimes that can spur on a new will and strength that will last after death. Shen Yu could see himself in this life. He could also see himself in his previous life. The wheel of reincarnation begins to turn once more. His eyes opened. I am alive. A strange but familiar cold energy awakened within him. Time in his perception slowed to a crawl. His thoughts moved a lot faster and he felt control like never before, as if he was an emperor giving his commands as the icy energy went from his body to his mind. Using the now supreme control over his body and processing speed, he used his hands to grab some nearby stones that were sticking out of the cliff. Because the force from the fall was too grand, he continued to fall, but by using the stones to slow down his descent bit by colliding with the cliff, he made his way downward. During this time he had to keep an eye on the size of his rocks and even had to switch them out once in order to continue down the cliff as safe as possible. But by that point, he was halfway down the cliff and it was a very smooth slope. Left with no other options, he tried his best to use his parkour skills to reduce the height of his eventual fall. So delicately he used his parkour skills and stared down calmly at spikes of rocks below. Jumping from one spike to another took a lot more control and strength, which in the end caused him to fall down in fatigue. He then continued falling and landed on the ground with a hard thud after scraping against a rock. He felt a bone-crushing and gushing sensation as he hit the ground with intense fatigue, passing out. Chapter 17. Tales of Demons in God's Divine Kingdom by Black King Jade. I was not an Ice Guy hero, didn't cross over with my smartphone, or have max level at the start nor a system to help me win, but why am I still alive? Shen Yu had fallen from a cliff about 10 stories high. His chest was laid open and bare to any carnivorous beast or demon that fancied human flesh. His legs were broken. No matter how much he willed it to move, he physically couldn't move. Damn it! Tears were falling from his eyes. Pain. He wasn't used to this pain that left him on the edge of life and death at every moment. His breathing felt similar to that of his former asthmatic self except worse, and it came with a sharp feeling with every breath he took. Shen Yu's dull gray eyes darted around, triggering after hearing the howls of wolves. He felt something glooming near him with his bluish-gray hair in a wild state compared to his usual scholarly bun. Family. Love. Hate. Betrayal. Foolishness. These words individually created a certain feeling inside of him, a feeling he felt when he first crossed over into this world. A feeling when he consumed a little boy's soul and then after took upon himself to live out his life. He could imagine a knife in his hand. There was nothing more in his heart than wanting to be free from this pain, and the agony of his knowledge. The knowledge that nothing and no one would or could save him haunted him more and more as he heard the howls of wolves slowly die out and quiet down. Now there was truly nothing but him and the small dark figure on a rock above him. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours. Shen Yu continued to count in his mind the amount of time he was there lying down waiting for death. 3 days passed and he was able to move his legs. While he was asleep, a cold yin energy would sink into his body, and as if he was a dying plant being watered by the rain, his body absorbed all of that energy, especially his head. Shen Yu slowly got up from the floor and positioned himself onto the rock that was above him, and with assistance of the rock pulled himself completely up, seeing a wounded young bird. It had sleek black feathers with a straight tail and arched beak. A strange feeling overswept Shen Yu and his instincts took over, carefully holding the baby crow close to his chest to keep it warm, and that night the moon was a full one. Both the crow and the human looked at each other, seeing the pain in the other's eyes, and with that understanding quietly passed the day by. But something different happened that night, with Shen Yu receiving more energy than usual and some of the energy going into the crow, healing its wounds while giving it a deeper connection to the boy who held its wounded body in his arms. When he woke up, Shen Yu found that the bird was no longer in his arms and was back on the stone observing him. Standing up, Shen Yu found that he could move his limbs way more than the other day, so both he and the crow looked for food. Luckily he didn't have to look for long and found blood-colored berries in a few bushes, and recognizing them for being the berries he was originally looking for with his relative Shen Feng, immediately collected them for himself and his new partner. After eating and dividing the berries, Shen Yu and the bird continued to hunt for food and good water. I have done it, thought Shen Yu to himself with a grin, expressing his happiness of having both a cheat and having survived. The next thing on his agenda was to put together what he learned from this experience and figure out how his cheat works. With his knowledge and cheat, he was confident in leaving this place alive along with his new partner. A few days later, Shen Yu had come up with some theories about his ability. That was, it had something to do with yin energy, which dealt with the spiritual side of things. It would explain why his memory and learning capacity increased and the ice-cold feeling in his mind whenever he was angered. It kept him calm, fixing another of his previous life issues. But he was tired of foraging fruit and berries and wanted some meat, so it was time to do something he never did in his previous life, which was to hunt for food. Itaki, let's go. Shen Ye heard a caw in response as he readied himself with his equipment. In total he had 5 knives, but he wanted a bow and arrows since it would make hunting a lot easier. Shen Yu, with the crow following behind, searched for an exit as they walked through the deep gully where they spent the past week in. Unfortunately today was blistering hot, and it didn't help that his shoes went missing during the time he was unconscious, so like numerous magicians he watched in his past life, he had to walk across what he felt like burning hot coals. After a few unbearable hours they found traces of water nearby on their path along with some animal dung. This discovery led Shen Yu to smile a bit as he looked towards the crow that was now perched on his shoulder. Not a single word was needed, and the crow understood the hidden meaning and flew off in search of an exit and came back crowing happily after an hour went by. On the right side of the gully 30 minutes ahead was an area where he could climb up into the forest. More importantly, he could have the chance of finding some water, so in between walking and climbing he meditated on himself and could feel the energy woven into his body. This shortened his recovery time and allowed him to climb the gully in a day before needing rest. Having exited the desolate gully, he was greeted with a valley of green grass and trees. He could hear the numerous sounds in the forest, but instead of his usual smile, he was determined to change his life and get his revenge. In the next few days there were more berries and fruit, and due to bamboo being nearby he was able to make a bow and a set of arrows. It was close to night when he finished, and although he knew it wasn't a good idea, he was lucky to not have been attacked by any beast so far. So with some confidence, after marking the location he was resting at, he went away from camp in hopes of hunting a deer or something down. Meanwhile, somewhere in a forest, a carnivorous beast standing 6 feet tall but with the shape of a pig, it had a long blunt snout with small eyes and large ears. Dripping from its mouth was the blood of its prey. It heard a sound that was a bit nearby, and smelling the weak prey, the monster smiled before heading off for more delicious food, leaving the carcass behind. This is what is called the law of the jungle. Chapter 18. Swoosh. Pack. Those were the sounds Shen Yu's arrows made. He was deadly accurate already without using the energy inside him, but after triggering it he was on an entirely new level. He could hit his targets with his eyes completely closed, using his newfound strength and his senses. As the arrow went clean into the deer's head, marking another successful hunt, he celebrated in his mind. Making quick movements and using the knowledge he gained from the library, Shen Yu was able to dissect the beast as if he was a character in a video game, and luckily in his spare time made a car to carry the corpses. The extra luggage slowed down his trip back, and it would take him another 30 minutes to get back to his shelter. While he was making his way there, he heard a loud grunt followed by the sound of a stampede. Alarm bells rang in his mind as a pig-like figure jumped high into the air before landing to the left of Shen Yu. It quickly opened its jaws, fang protruding from his mouth, and with its large body went to kill its prey as fast as it could, aiming to chop down on his head. Shit, following his instincts, Shen Yu wasted no time moving out the way, jumping away from the area he once was. This angered the demon who had worked so hard on finding its prey. The demon beast rushed towards the little boy named Shen Yu and was determined to either knock him down or eat him in one bite. Shen Yu ran for his life and went into the trees, and not to his surprise the demon boar could casually knock the trees down. Leaping to his right, he avoided one charge and quickly drew an arrow, his mind running fast as he knocked 2 arrows and shot at the beast to keep it at bay as he ran. Swoosh. The arrow flew through the air at high speeds towards the face of the boar. Having read countless books, novels, and manga, he knew that the demon's most likely weapon was its head, specifically its eyes, but because the boar was lucky he missed and landed the arrow on the left cheek and its nose. It howled in pain, slamming itself around in an attempt to get the arrow out its nose, giving Shen Yu a chance to survive and escape. Shen Yu ran fast while looking back, not paying attention to his surroundings because despite the distance he was from the camp only being 10 minutes away, the boar was fast, and after getting rid of the arrow had a deep hatred of its tricky prey. The demon boar went all out, and with a combination of fast running and jumping was closing in on Shen Yu. Seeing this would be unfavorable, Shen Yu whistled his pet crow to fly in the air away from the camp, but being surprisingly loyal attacked the boar with its claws, enraging the demon boar and getting slammed to the side. Itaki, shit. Die for me, you demon boar. This had brought Shen Yu time as he ran away from his pet and shot an arrow that was deadly accurate at the boar's eye, piercing it and causing a fountain of blood. Rawugh! Roared the boar, screaming in pain. Unfortunately, Shen Yu's luck was once again not on his side, and he tripped over a branch due to his inattention to the ground below him. He felt stupid, and as in the movies, to his horror, the demonic boar let out an even more menacing aura. Time seemed to slow to a still, and the boar leaped forward with great strength and weight. It seemed like it was about to crush the little kid that brought it all the hassle and pain. Never in Shen Yu's life did he meet such a stupid, stubborn, and unreasonable boar. The cold energy in Shen Yu quickly grew in amount and strength. The wheel and the energy besides it spun widely, and his heart pumped more and more quickly. But unsurprisingly, despite all the chaos going on, his mind was cold, calm, and ruthless. Shen Yu's face warped from a face of fear to a face of indifference. His heart and mind were completely one. With great agility, he moved his body away from the impact, and while he rose to his feet, pulled out his knives. He felt a great urge in his mind to battle, to kill. Every inch of his body sought to get revenge for his companion and dominate this creature. For him, it was something deep within his noble blood and soul. His pride as reincarnation, and as a member of the human species who ruled the entire planet in his previous life as the king of the animal kingdom. Being nearly trampled on and having his companion injured due to his weakness deeply hurt his pride and brought great humiliation that he wanted to quickly avenge. I shall dominate this world. The energy had filled his eyes, causing them to glow as he spoke the new name of his ability, as the previous one he decided in his spare time, Overload, did not sound as cool. Overlord. A great amount of energy flooded his body and time for him came to a stop. His body moved like a phantom, and before the boar could even process what happened, Shen Yu had already made his move. Phantoms trailed behind Shen Yu's body, following his movements as he first cut open the boar's chest, then slid under its belly, spitting that open with his knives and stabbing one into its heart. His body then vanished and Shen Yu, appearing above the bear, kicked down a knife heading straight into the boar's skull and into his brain. Landing in front of the boar on the ground and wanting to vent his anger, kicked the boar into a dense patch of trees. Time quickly went back to normal for Shen Yu, and as a result, he felt exhausted all over. As for the food that landed in the tree, it was already dead and couldn't go anywhere, so after some rest he dissected its corpse and cooked dinner for him and his pet crow. As the night faded, he had only one thought in his mind, and that was his revenge against his jealous brother and sinister aunt. Giving a look at his pet and then the moon, he smiled before he opened his mouth. "Are you ready, my partner?" The crow caught in response as Shen Yu observed the moon, which represented his desires. Meanwhile, at the sacred family residence, Shen Yu's assets were being plundered. This bastard kept so much gold and dared not report or share with the family. Where is that brat's conscience? Chapter 19. While Shen Yu was making his way back from the forest, his relatives Shen Fei, Shen Chu, and Shen Feng were splitting his property. Besides the business Shen Yu was running, and some personal items like books or a few treasures he had collected, there weren't much to have as an 8-year-old tycoon in the making. On this hot, sunny day, members of the sacred family and their staff could be seen collecting many books on a diverse set of subjects that were borrowed from Shen Yu while he was reading for his pleasure. Meanwhile, the main branch staff and family members of the sacred family were arguing over the shares of the instrument business. The man that spearheaded this reallocation was named Shen Ning, a disciple of the main affair elder Shen Ming. Shen Ning was a young man in his teenage years, considered one of the strongest of the sacred family younger generation, and held the rank of Silver 2-star demon spiritualist. Shen Ning had brown hair tied in the style of ancient Chinese scholars. His face naturally looked bored and tired like a salted fish, and his body language screamed the need for rest and sleep. But when his eyes were opened, you could see a hint of an unstated urge that was off-putting, but when it came to handling affairs such as this, he was below only the old fogies that spent decades in the field. As the one who discovered this betrayal of the family, 20% of the funds we just found is not enough to equate to the merits I brought to the family Shan Fai. If not for my grief for our sibling, the family would most likely never have found the money he hid alongside the business. Shen Fei's face slightly twisted in irritation before heading back to normal with a small smile. He had no reason to concede to Shen Feng's demands, and if it wasn't for the fact that he could see his aunt, who was fifth in terms of power in the family, siding with Shen Feng, then he would have just put the money in his pocket then and there. As a member of the sacred family, since you use the resources we provided, the corresponding price needs to be paid as well. So it's a given to report the business and hidden profit to the family. Unless you are saying that the family hasn't taken care of you enough to garner your loyalty. Now Shen Fei, don't you agree that's difficult, and as the new second young master of the family, Shen is entitled to at least this amount of the profits? Shen Qiu said with a worried look on her face. She was a fox through and through, just like her demon spirit. But at this point, Shi Ning spoke up. I propose an agreement to be made. The business is split into 30% belonging to Shen Feng, with the other 60 going to Shen Fei and leaving 10 with the family. That's too much. As a suspicious person for the murder of Shen Yu, you sure are talking a lot, aren't you? After hearing this, Shen Feng was silent. Although he expected this argument, it still made his face chagrin when he heard it. It was time to bend and stretch in order for an advantage in the future. He must give up some benefits to Shen Fei. Nonsense, and you of all people are aware of how close I was with elder brother Yu. At the very most I will only reduce by 10%. You are really leaving me without any face. Shen Ning turned his head to Shen Fei, who nodded in response to the newfound deal. Then the matter is settled. Now if you excuse me, I need to report to Elder Ming." With that, the matter was settled and everyone got their benefits. Shen Fei got his fun money, Shen Feng got his drug money, and Shen Qiu got her investment money. Shen Fei walked out with Shen Ning to discuss upcoming issues, and it was then that an item on the ground was noticed. Deeply inspired and amazed at the item, Shen Fei picked it up and began observing it. It was a silver and gold token, each with its own unique pattern that shined under the glistening sun. A spider with wings could be seen on one side and the other side had an image of a snake eating itself. Handing the coin to Shen Ning, Shen Fei then opened his mouth. "Within the month I need the details of this organization, so go to the slums and check to see trails of Shen Yu. But the main priority is finding the organization no matter what method you use and infiltrating it with a spy. Or if it turns out this isn't an organization, then just make a note and look for any clues." "Yes, Lord Shen Fei, I am on it right away." Some time passes and the clouds change from white to a gray color, and many places are getting out signs and food preparation of an upcoming dish, whetting the appetite of the audience. In the meanwhile, Shen Yu was entering the slums along with his pet crow called Atake, which was scarier than he thought. So the first few days in the dirty houses, near disease-ridden citizens with unclean hygiene, caused Shen Yu to struggle. His nose crinkled as his face frowned in slight disgust. Carefully avoiding the poop and piss that littered the district, he made his way to look for a clean drinking source of water. Glory City, for being considered a small city, was huge and was as big as an average-sized state in the U.S.A, so he needed to restock on supplies. Caw, caw, caw. The crows of a crow could be heard as Shen Yu and his pet Atake explored the slum district. There was hardly any water nearby that could be used as a source for drinking or growing plants. The surrounding area was dead and unfilled with life, with most people being underground, inside their homes, or working in the streets. Strange winds blew constantly throughout the district, and the dust could sometimes be swirling around certain residential areas. Some kids could be seen playing with a stitched-together ball, while a few other kids could be seen playing this world's version of tag. It reminded him greatly of his life in Phoenix, Arizona. Always hot, bad smells from the freeway near his home and the trash or gunk people left near the bus stop by his home. But he was getting really thirsty and didn't want to risk being robbed. Thankfully, his current clothes were in tatters, held together by leaves and twigs, creating a look of a poor person who somehow managed to get their hands on a bit of good-looking fabric. The look was common among poor children, but the mismatched materials were not that high quality. Coming to an abandoned alley, Shen Yu stopped there to think about his new actions before coming to a decision with his crow Atake. "Caw, caw, caw. We need to find water to drink. How about we blend in more with the local crowd before we start asking questions about where to find new clothes?" To Shen Yu's luck, there was a dead child's body in the very same alleyway he was in. Bruises and cuts over the body could be seen alongside a stab wound near the chest. The feet were bent in a weird way, and combined with the bad smell and darkness of the alley, Shen Yu got the jitters. Nearing the body, he didn't know what to do with this dead child his age and height. Does he ignore it and look for some other clothes? Or does he strip the last dignity of the already cold corpses? Sighing in his mind, Shen Yu quickly swaps clothing with the dead child before using some of his newfound strength to bury him in a patch of soft dirt nearby. Besides dirty hands and a few blood stains and cuts on his clothing, he looked like a handsome boy born in the slums, prime target for dark organizations looking for profit in any way they can. Taking a knife out of his pocket, he looked at the reflection of himself, a young boy with bluish-gray hair alongside gray eyes as sharp as an eagle with long flowing hair. Picking up the knife, he cut his hair near the start of his hair tie, and with control of his muscles gave himself a decent haircut that looked like Ho Yahao from Seoul Land 2. Making his way out the alley with a crow on his shoulder alongside a knife, it was time to go hunting for resources. It was obvious he would have to stay here a few days, and confident in his strength, decided to take over a small gang territory that would allow him to have a place to rest and eat and drink while gathering resources. Sacred family, I'm on my way back, and Shen Feng, you won't enjoy what's coming to you next. Chapter 20. 2 more days passed since the first day, and he made some progress. It wasn't pleasant sleeping in alleyways, but despite his reluctance, In order to survive, he slept in the trash and used it as camouflage at night to avoid being attacked. The very first night he tried it, he witnessed 2 drug addicts die by fighting each other to the death of a half-eaten apple. It was sickening, and combined with the smells of shit, blood, and garbage made him throw up all over himself. Tears fell down from his eyes as he did so, finding this entire world disgusting, and once again reminding himself that he was weak. Shen Yu climbed out of the current trash pile he was in and made his way to another alley looking for some perfume, since he managed to get some new clothes a night ago and wanted to cover up the smell. As he walked out of his current alley, Shi Yu was greeted by the hot blistering sun, moving despite the heat, and the wind that was blowing sand everywhere from dusty buildings to the hidden watchman for a small local gang. It didn't take long before he found the remains of a woman. Corpses of men, women, and children were commonly found in these alleyways, though these would disappear only for new ones to replace them the next day. Oh, there is nothing there to replace this smell. I guess I should probably find an orphanage, preferably one not trafficking minors, thought Shen Yu to himself as he searched through the pile of trash once more, managing to find a few silver out of pure luck, and began his search for a home. Keeping his conviction firm, he continued to look for a place that wasn't obviously trafficking the kids they brought into the orphanage. Walking down the beaten path, he stumbled onto what he thought was a decent orphanage. It wasn't overly nice and was a collection of a few wooden buildings, huts, and tents. A fire pit could be seen in the center of the complex, alongside one of the buildings being the main office. Although other children were playing around doing some kind of kickball game, adults and teenagers appeared scarce, with only a few very old or menacing ones outside, not only watching the children but also watching the entrance. Interesting. I recognize that brat, but why was he sent to the slum area? As far as I know, through my limited contact, he was supposed to be dead. The man thinking these words was old and currently playing Chinese chess with another one of the residents. The old man had long gray hair with strong eyebrows and a slim build. He looked similar to a traditional sect elder, so after communicating a secret message to the main office, he continued playing his game. A cold shiver went down Shen Yu's back alongside the feeling of someone gazing at him. The feeling was there only for an instant before turning to normal. Deciding it was in his best interest to ignore it based on his general Chinese cultivation knowledge, he instead went straight into the main office, which, despite the general poverty of the era, was decorated well, and he recognized a few things that looked like some of the furniture at home. The walls of the room held a few small paintings but were worth quite a lot on the markets of Glory City. But despite the cozy and slightly familiar feeling of the room, Shen Yu's heart had vigilance, as it was obvious this wasn't an ordinary room. The person standing there to do the greeting was a young woman, who smelled and looked clean. She had pink hair and an average Chinese body and face, but what was unique was the aura she had around her that would cause others to be in a slight haze. Definitely a cultivator, and as of now this was the best I could find. Well, here it goes, I guess, thought Shen Yu as he gave one last glance at his crow perched on his left shoulder before greeting the manager or organizer of the building. Excuse me, beautiful sister. I am looking for a place to live. Are there any spaces left? Asked Shen Yu with the cutest looking face he could muster at this point in time. Giving a gentle smile, the lady nodded her head before proceeding to talk with some mirth. You seem about 8 years old, little brother, but you can't stay here for free and must do some work in order to stay in this palace. I won't ask for your name or any other details, but in exchange, when called upon, you must complete your job. If you accept these terms, go to any one of the homes and find a place that's not taken. I believe I can handle whatever they throw at me as long as I am on their good side. I should be safe, judging by the details. It doesn't look like they are trafficking children, and even if I wanted to escape, it's too late and my only chance is by omission, thought Shen Yu before making his decision and walking out the door. But before he did, he stopped and turned around to face the receptionist. Thank you, big sister. I was wondering how long until my first mission, asked Shen Yu, and not soon after he got a time frame. You have 1 week, little kid. Thank you, Shen Yu said before walking off into the new location and beginning a search for a home. During Shen Yu's walk around the premises, he could hear the gossiping between adults, the children running around and clicking and clangs of metals alongside the sound of fires going around the camp getting prepared for dinner. Shen Yu's eyes slightly widened since he saw something not everyone could see, a small version of a living city. It wasn't long before he felt a tap on his shoulder. "Excuse me, did you want to play with us?" Chapter 21. Currently in the same plaza Shen Yu was in, there was a secret discussion going on in one of the buildings. The room chosen was elegant and filled with bottles of liquor, more specifically yellow liquor made from rice. There were 2 leather cushions facing each other, both having one person on it, and a wooden table with special engravings at the center between the 2 couches. "Lei Yu, soon it will be time for the Lord to transfer once more, and he demands a more suitable vessel than the stock we have currently." Zhou Xin spoke while inwardly feeling weird about being in charge of this certain issue, but he deserved it with all his current hard work. Zhou Xin and Lei Yu were both high-level members of the Dark Guild founded by the Demon Lord who destroyed the Red Jade family all that long ago. Each member of the Dark Guild joined for different reasons, but all joined for the common cause, which was the destruction and reformation of the ruling class of Glory City. Zhou Xin had long scholar-like black hair and sword-like eyebrows. His looks can be likened to Meng Hao from I Shall Seal the Heavens the beginning, but slightly more handsome. Lei Yu on the other hand had wooden brown hair and a regal-looking face and appeared to look similar to Su Kei from the Ultimate Scheming System. "So, you know better than me. Hastiness will only do harm towards this operation, and as far as I know we currently have 3 options. 1, any branch member from the sacred family. 2, can be the guy that has the supreme physique. And 3, a talented commoner like the group usually chooses." Lei Hui was also slightly troubled. But with the options clear, he was willing to wait longer despite his illness. With his current state giving him 10 years to find a cure if he didn't use soul force, and depending on how heavy the future injuries and how much soul force he used, it can be even shorter. "Let's try other options before we go for the one with the supreme physique. The fight there might be our last." Zhou Xin responded. "I will start the search in the sacred family for someone useful. In the meanwhile, look for some talented children here and teach them a few things according to standard practice." Lei Hui said before leaving quietly out the door and heading to the Star Restaurant to meet with a contact. The mood was depressing and uncertain for the future, but Zhou Xin had a steady gaze and his eyes filled with some determination because of his newbie status. He needed to complete this mission well before his wish could be granted. Meanwhile, Shen Yu was hanging out with Yang Pin and Lu Mao, both orphans being raised by an eccentric old man. Yang Pin had both blonde hair and green eyes. Her face was average but stood out with her strong nose. Lu Mao was also average looking with black hair and sword eyebrows, but somehow despite the environment managed to keep clean, clear skin. After a week of playing with them and talking, Shen Yu found out a lot of information about this place. Some of the most important things were that there were 3 factions: the Great Families, the Neutrals, and the Black Guild, a small subsidiary of the Dark Guild. In order to leave this slum area, they must prove themselves useful to either of the groups to gain access to training, a good place to live, in a higher starting position during official recruitment. The way to stand out was the jobs or missions that each resident had to complete in order to stay, but if your rank or number of missions is high enough, then you can allow up to 2 others to stay here for free, not including food and water. Currently, the sky was a bright blue without many clouds, and the 3 of them stood near a play pit meant for kids to play tag and run around. Pretty soon it would be time for Shen Yu to go on his first mission, but was not aware that some of his actions made someone take notice of him. "Yu Shen, our grandpa said although the first mission won't usually be difficult, there are always unexpected surprises to be careful and not hold back," said Lu Mao with concern. Although he hated it, not many orphan children survived the first mission. It pained him every time he made friends, but he could only do his best to help the new kids that come by. "No need to worry, Mao. I have an accurate measure for myself." Shen Yu replied, slightly annoyed at the name he gave himself, but people in the world can be fooled with the name Li Nai, so he should be just fine. "Take it seriously. It's better to lose a limb and live than to end up dying because of face or stupid mistakes. The death rate is 85% on the first mission, and each mission gets more and more difficult." Yang Pin ranted to Shen Yu. She was like the mom of the group and greatly worries whenever anyone is in danger and was a very thoughtful and selfless person. Ease your worries. What's face? Can you eat it after death? Shen Yu responded back before walking off alongside Itaki, his crow that was perched on his shoulder. He arrived at the main building in about 20 minutes and after talking a bit with the receptionist accepted his mission. Usually, the mission for a newbie was to deliver or steal an item or package to a certain person or group, but this time was different due to the influx of recent members. In order to cut down the numbers increased the difficulties of the mission. Shen Yu had to assassinate a target and bring back a special package that was found to be on his target's person, and although the person was not a high-level cultivator, they still had pretty good physical fitness as an apprentice fighter. Let's try to get more info on Su Dun and the area he lives. I need to know the environment, habits, and personality of my target to lower my chances of death, but I doubt it would be as tough as the demon beast I killed. Thought Shen Yu in his mind before leaving to gather information. Chapter 22. For the next few days, Shen Yu was having trouble finding information about Su Dun. After all, nobody wanted to be known as a snitch. How else would they get their drugs? Not to mention the risk they would take if they were exposed or knew about something important. Despite the now numerous books he read, applying them to an ongoing investigation was difficult when you are on a time limit. Now he hid, sitting in an alleyway, observing the busy traffic of people walking through the streets and entering other alleys to do their business. Luckily these streets were cleaned on a routine basis every morning by the community, otherwise where would the killers, drug dealers, and other organized criminals do their jobs? Not in the filth. What should I do, Itaki? Shen Yu asked his crow, rubbing his head in worry. Caw-caw, responded the crow before flying in the air and circling before landing back on Shen Yu's shoulder, suggesting he start over and do something else instead of running around in circles. Thanks, I guess, said Shen Yu, smiling at his crow before getting up and deciding to change the way of investigation. He walked out of his current alleyway and searched for a good target to mug. Investigation cost money, and hoping for someone to give information with his current weak strength and lack of funds was a pipe dream. Shen Yu then spotted a heavy-set man who looked a bit dazed and distressed before he turned into a dark nearby alley. He was more apathetic than usual. Betrayal and having his first life and death fight squashed most of the pity he would have. However, he was still hesitant. Killing a human and killing a boar were two different things for him, but he needed to pre-form an assassination for the first mission, so he will investigate before killing this man for practice, and if he did something deplorable he would have no mercy. Deciding to follow him, Shen Yu did his best to sneak out of the alley and blend into the crowd, before entering the next alley where his target stood in the darkness very nervously. The target had blonde hair and rough skin with a big pot belly and a slightly ugly face. He was a bit tall, standing at a total of 6 feet, and based on appearance looked about 35 years old. The man had blood on his shirt, pants, and hands. Even worse was a weird pink blush and white powder on his face, as he stood not alone but alongside some others who minded their own business dealing drugs in the alley. Damn, they really left the bitch's body here after I provided them a fresh recruit, said the pot-belly man excitedly before proceeding to take down his pants and do unspeakable things to it, angering and disgusting Shen Yu as well as the others in the crowd, who looked pissed off as well. Before the crowd could get the fat man, Shen Yu walked calmly behind the man, making sure as to not give away his evil intent. He avoided eye contact and kept his gaze straight ahead and under the witness of other members of the alley, activating his Overlord 1 ability. Energy flooding his body, he felt an enhanced sense of control and freedom. Enjoying the feeling, he reached subtly and quickly into his pocket. During his time at the compound, he had made sure to bring the weapons he needed for the mission, so before the others could blink, killed his target with a quick slit of the neck before stealing the pants and leaving to avoid being counter-robbed by others in the alleyway. Turning off his overload ability to avoid future strain on his young body, Shen Yu blended into the streets, walking towards a nearby bar in the red district of the slums, as it was the best way to get information. He had an hour walk, so with plenty of time to think about what he has just done, he felt slightly disgusted but found that he had no real amount of empathy for that man he killed for the money. Searching for his pockets, he found a good amount of cash, enough needed to buy a great amount of drugs here, as it seemed that ugly bastard planning on getting more high after his excursion. So after getting the cash, threw away the bloodied pants. After 1 hour of walking, he arrived at the smelliest and filthiest place he had seen, causing him to move to the side of the street in a nearby alley as he felt nauseous. Shen Yu's stomach churned vigorously as he attempted to hold in the vomit, but after another 10 minutes he couldn't help it. "Itaka, this place is disgusting. I can't hold it in any longer." Not able to hold himself back from the smell, Shen Yu vomited vigorously into the alleyway before quickly leaving. The streets and alleyways were a gross mix of red and white, with the occasional foul odor of poop and a heavy mix of perfumes that came from the red houses. Making his way through the sludge, Shen Yu sat down on a bar stool and ordered a small amount of wine, which for children here was drinkable, beside this world's version of coconut milk to fulfill their need for water. Although tempted, he didn't drink, as Shen Yu didn't trust the unknown diseases and bacteria that would be in the cup, but the slightly smelly and tinted bar stool cushion didn't help. It didn't take long before hearing news about Su Dun after buying the people around him a few drinks. "That man Su Dun, I don't know what happened to him, but he became the boss of the Wicked Blade Gang and vice leader of the Dragon Group," shouted a drunk old man who reminded him a bit of someone while loudly telling the news to anyone who could hear. A slight grin appeared on Shen Yu's face but quickly went away. If it wasn't for the uncomfortable lengths he went through to make him look like another poor but vicious kid, then he would have been fed to the demons by now. So despite his previous bold action, he at heart didn't want to draw attention to himself at the moment. Titling the straw hat on his head, Shen Yu listened quietly and paid for the drinks alongside other services he arranged to happen at that bar. So with the money paid, headed to the Wicked Blade Gang headquarters to do some infiltration and disable the guards. With him and his crew as silent as possible, he looked around the headquarters before finding a labor kid with roughly the same height and hair as him. But sadly he was surrounded by other people, making it impossible for him to infiltrate. Well, that was the case until the children surrounding his target started beating him viciously to the point where no one knew if he was alive or dead. After 5 minutes they leave, giving Shen Yu the opportunity to switch positions, and after lugging away the dead kid's body and making a makeshift grave, he replaced his clothes with corpses. "As thanks, if I am strong enough, one day I will revive you. Maybe. I am a main character and what happened earlier was just one of the many plot points in a story, since it's been going well so far, but if that's the case, then where's my harem of 1,000 jade beauties?" thought Shen Yu as he changed clothes. "I want to get out of here. As I spend a longer time in this world, the more I am disgusted by it. Especially this area. But I still need to find Su Dun and know his strength," thought Shen Yu in his mind before sending his crow to search for Su Dun, whose whereabouts are mostly unknown even by his close subordinates. Shortly after arriving at the post, the supervisor came and started to check everyone's tasks, and it wasn't long before it was his turn. "Chu Shengxiang, it seems you finished your punishment for tardiness. Very well then. Follow your usual schedule. And here's a list." "After receiving my first beating, I don't remember who I was for a week straight," said the supervisor, handing a list to Shen Yu before leaving. "I wonder if I would have a chance to kill Su Dun during these tasks. But I don't want to look suspicious. I currently need to follow them," Shen Yu said while regulating his breathing. After the supervisor left, Shen Yu observed the list of tasks and found that he had to move and organize different drugs, sort through trash for valuable objects, and even hunted down some rodents with the other kids. Not having much of a choice besides quitting his tasks, he fulfilled his duties while avoiding his current identity's previous bullies. It was difficult, but since his tasks this week were relatively important, he was left alone for the most part. Children are so cruel, thought Shen Yu in his mind before resuming work and investigating more information about the facility he works at. Thus, after finishing his tasks, searched again for Su Dun's information. During that time he learned that he had to go report what he saw while doing his tasks and head over to a report room where they store their records and receive reports of mission details. So after a week of working in these conditions, he learned from a guard that the security of the report room has loosened due to the recently need manpower. The idiot boss Su Dun didn't think about consequences, so there was currently a war going on, thus the need for more soldiers. Knowing that this was the perfect chance to get the information he required, before making his report, Shen Yu found drugs when inhaled had a hallucinogenic and paralysis effect. Then prepared himself to break into the room bringing a common lockpick, a gas mask made by himself, gloves from his drug-dealing job, a crossbow from the weapons room and skin/eye irritants where he found his earlier drugs. The job as simple as the people here had no cultivation were minions of a larger gang who served the Dark Guild. The defenses here were relatively simple and at this point, all he needed to do was break in and poison the keeper alongside any possible guards. To start he first knocked with a secret code on the door to the report room. While he waited for a response he observed the environment a bit more and found that the designs of the hallway reminded him of Orochimaru's hideout in Shippuden. But before further thoughts could be made he was answered. The speakeasy door had the sliding part open with two dark brown eyes showing. "What do you wish to report? Speak now or the guards shall come," said the keeper as rude as usual. "I have a written report, sir. Where do I place it?" Shen Yu asked while holding his parcel laced with irritants. Thankfully he brought the gloves or this situation would be different than what he wanted, and since the keeper never cared for his other co-workers he didn't recognize Shen Yu being there last week, as in his opinion had better things to do. "Humph. Just drop it off here for processing. Wait for me to open the drop-off slot," the keeper responded, to which Shen Yu gladly gave the infected package to the keeper who picked it up without gloves. Caught off guard from the intense itching, the keeper forgot to close the speakeasy and Shen Yu delivered while throwing the poison gas through the speakeasy, which caused the keeper to be paralyzed. Placing on a mask he began picking open the door lock. Shen Yu then silently and carefully moved the keeper to another place in the room before closing and locking the door and looking for information involving Su Dun. But when Shen Yu had finally found some information on Su Dun he was shocked and disgusted at what they were doing. Chapter 23. Not long after reading the rest of the information, Shen Yu killed the workers there and walked out of the room. It was disgusting what they had planned to do to some innocent children for the sake of power. Shen Yu knew eventually he might fall onto the dark path, as he would have to fight Nai Lai one day, but this completely revolted him. And so he resolved himself to never perform devilish methods like this, but he at least had a location and time for the ritual Su Dun was trying to complete. Time waited for no one, so he quietly made his way out of the building and stole a few more drugs from the medicine hall of the facility. He had a few days where Su Dun would be the most vulnerable and would have no issue getting in a place to kill him. After all, Shen Yu really is a vulnerable child to the outside world. When a few hours passed he was out of range of the facility and met up with his pet crow Ataki, and made his way to the location where the ritual would take place, which is a brothel run by the Dark Guild where everything needed for Su Dun's sacrifice would be. But unfortunately, details about the effect of the ritual were unknown and were kept a secret by Su Dun. This wasn't the crew's first rodeo when it came to rituals similar to this, but it was usually done by higher UPS in the Dark Guild rather than their immediate boss. Arriving at a generic-looking prostitution building he could hear the non-insulated sounds of sins and strange acts being committed. The building was made of wood and colored red with a very cheap-looking door sign that was barely hanging on in tatters. The sign read, "For men, we meet their needs." Tacky and still sickening, but if he wanted to stop this ritual he had to go, and so going to a nearby alley he tore his clothes and placed some dirt on his face, not forgetting to make his feet dirty, so he walked to the building and entered. The inside looked a bit nicer, but it still had a disgusting smell to it. While Shen Yu could hear the groans of men and women and see some children cleaning up, they at least had solid wooden doors so you didn't have to see the action. Of course, that was only for those who wished not to be seen here, as there are some voyeurs here. "What are you doing here, brat?" remarked a middle-aged man with messy dirty hair, visibly upset. "We don't serve young'uns." "I'm looking for work, sir," replied Shen Yu with a slight American Southern accent which suffices in hiding his boy's true origins. "Well then, I know that I don't have any need for cleaning cuties," said the uncle, hoping to get the kid out before his boss came down. "I'm willing to do any kind of work, sir, but I need to live," Shen Yu replied, knowing that he was going to kill the first person who wanted to try his way with him. "Damn kid, I know you need money, but you need to leave. I already feel guilty for working here." I don't want to send another person into that monster's hands before it's the uncle-looking man was thinking in his head before being interrupted with a flamboyant shrill. Oh, Flancun, I hope you are not scaring off a future worker or it's your head that will be appearing on my plate instead of the usual. A sinister and crackling man said with a perverted expression and twisted face. He was dressed in an outfit made of material of the upper society. His body was wrapped with small bones and skulls while his torso had a whip and a bottle of wine attached. His toes were opened and exposed, but it was his visage that made Shen Yu shudder in fear. The monster's body was that of a demon standing way taller than him, alongside a face of a devil painted like clown from his nightmares, disgusting and ugly. Shit, it's too late, but I ain't having my cheeks beaten today. So good luck, boy, said the middle-aged man in his mind before responding to the boss. No sir, I was just trying to fulfill the other positions as we started to run out after Sir Su arrived for services, said the middle-aged as he sighed in his heart as the twisted-looking face of the monster of a boss turned into normal. Well, that's fine then. The monster-looking man responded to the older-looking one. What's your name, boy? Asked by what Shen Yu referred to now as the monster. Knew you, boss, responded Shen Yu as he endured the penetrating gaze of that being who looked beyond humans. Well then, you will be learning from the other boys' servant duties before taking lessons on how to please customers. Now follow me. Your training should be complete within the week. Also, refer to me as sir or boss at all times, said the monster before walking off to a different section of the building. Yes sir, responded Shen Yu, wishing he remembered to take his knife with him rather than hiding it outside along with his crossbow, but with the help of his pet crow perched outside he should still be safe. Speaking of that, lately at night he has been able to better communicate with the crow and feel the connection between them deepen. After 3 days he will strike at night with the poisoned dagger and arrows prepared to take down Su Dun, and he would save these children while he was at it. Meanwhile, screams in the alleyway could be heard as a monster was feasting on the flesh of a betrayer. The hunger finally went away. This is getting hard to control. Damn that Su Dun. Hopefully, the ritual could have him fix this, the monster said before walking off in the night, his tall back leaping away in the distance in search of his next targets. Chapter 24. The Book of Seven Thieves was preserved from the sacred empire formed around 2,000 years ago. At that time there was a multitude of sect institutions for cultivation research, secret societies, and budding forces like martial arts halls. The Book of Seven Thieves was formed by the bigger sect which controlled most of the underground forces by winning with a great number of devil path experts. The royal family, determined to not let things get too out of hand, had long infiltrated the sect with a number of higher UPS, including the descendants of the leader of the sect being relatives of the royal family. Using the power within their bloodline, the royal family tied the secret hell path methods to themselves, so that anyone who practiced derivatives of the exercises would stray onto the devil's path and eventually would become a slave to the rulers of hell. The royal family controlling the nether and the earth then gazed upon heaven, but as time passed the sacred empire fell and the bigger sect was free, with only this book left over with the history of the legacy, and giving instructions to allow the untalented to become demon spirit cultivators with the help of the realm of the abyss. That's what the Dark Lord recalled after reminiscing about his previous life and the current one. Time was running out and he had a plan to break his shackles and finally join the Divine Feathers sect. The current Dark Lord was sitting in a comfortable chair with a scroll in his hands by a fire pit that was burning a mystical smelling incense. He chuckled before taking a deep breath as he read the information on it containing something he found funny. His current vice leader of the guild's son was in his territory performing his first mission. Shen Yu was very young, but also appeared talented, and the Dark Lord was waiting on the results of the mission. If he performs well, then he plans to raise the boy to be loyal to him and replace his father Shen Hong. He even gave the book in his hands to the mission target as a reward for the boy if he did it, and if he failed his dark guild would have another cultivator for his schemes. Grabbing a blank scroll, he made his decision on the matter and using his soul force to burn his thoughts onto the paper chucked it out the window behind him, was then caught by a servant and taken to his subordinates at the current recruiting nest. It did not matter which force was recruiting there because in the end, it was all the Dark Guild. Meanwhile, Su Dun was shitting his pants. The gang war he was managing was going out of control and he was running out of men, so he needed that ritual to be completed and soon in order to break the game. Thank the Dark Lord. If I manage to get through this crisis, eventually I can become an elder and live the rest of my life as a minor noble in a glory city. If not that, then at least a wealthy commoner. Fuck those starving and suffering kids. And my shitty partner who intervened in my ritual on accident, but if it wasn't for him I wouldn't have this current power without the disfigurement. Thought Su Dun as he calmed down, getting dressed because in a few days another ritual will begin. It was on a larger scale than the previous and stronger due to the ties with the Abyss Realm. Oh, how he wished he was from the sacred family so he could use the darker rituals for some quicker power. But at this thought his eyes twinkled with greed, shining as bright as considered switching the ritual to instead possess the kid the Dark Lord sent over to test him, but knowing that he didn't have enough time to alter the ritual he calmed down once more before yelling for his men to gather in his room. A chance to gain greater strength and ability you never had. What price are you willing to pay for it? Su Dun asked his men as they arrived. There were around 50 of them altogether. I want only 5 left standing, and only those who are willing to give up their dignity, as the things required for this is not something normal human beings would do. You have 3 hours. Su Dun said before walking out of the room and locking the door behind him. Su Dun traveled slightly from his base to a secret room below and grabbed 3 boxes, paint, a pair of white gloves, and a bucket. Placing them in a convenient spot for later, he opened up the Book of 7 Thieves and a disturbing red glow emanated from the pages. He needed to make sure he had the ritual memorized and prepared before the big day. This was his chance at salvation. Activating the little soul force he had, he began the ritual preparation. Candles began to light up mysteriously as the smell of sulfur invaded the room. It became much darker and a burning, consuming feeling came from his soul as he heard words he didn't understand. Arut Aramnazam Kirupt Menu Kazura Shipment Kartun Mezon Lesam Anir Tepmar. In the meanwhile, where his men were fighting, the room turned pitch black, yet the fighting continued. Blood began to leak out the door as the killing and battle continued. The being from another dimension spoke into the souls of the sacrifice, overseeing the ritual through Su Dun. Kinan ai Sol Dam Norp Ge Rock Rigusting Savor Menu Lesomswar. The hearts of the sacrifices bumped fiercely, and with every word was accompanied by a larger grafting and gurgling sound. Bodies began to drop down like a puppet with collapsed strings, and the 5 that were left gained a burn mark connecting to the performer of the ritual. The dead bodies then rapidly decomposed into mist before flying out the windows alongside the final thoughts of the being who ate them. The words from the demon from the Abyss Realm were, "Your souls were disgustingly sour. In exchange for that horrible meal you will face the consequences, summoner." After this, Su Dun felt a constantly burning feeling described in the book and allowed it to consume him. When the feeling left his body, he looked around to notice a mark burned on his right arm, and with this he could guarantee the ritual he was going to perform at the prostitution house to succeed. But the stench of sulfur suddenly assaulted him, accompanied by an illusion of a very humid and hot feeling of heat. It was unpleasant for him, but it was bearable as long as he could get what he needed. At least that's what he thought before feeling a massive pain in his groin area, as if someone had kicked him in the ball with a knife attached to the boot. "I will succeed," said Su Dun before passing out from the heat. Chapter 25. It's one day before the ritual, and Shen Yu had learned a lot. Well, at least enough to play the role of a servant boy due to his aptitude. The sun hasn't bothered him as much as of late, and he found a tree with a leaf that felt good on his arse, but having to do a thorough clean of himself was still troublesome. While serving for a few days, he learned that typically only the older ones would serve the adults and would receive training for that. While children at his age would learn how to clean, play music, cook, and a little basic medical knowledge to treat people with injuries from the client. He felt disgusted at the things he saw, and he would never forget them. Although poor in his previous life growing up, he lived in a country that gave him a chance to roll the dice and fight madly. But he pushed this to the back of his mind and turned his attention to the Daisa that was right beside him. The groaning noises that happened all day and night were extremely annoying, especially when trying to rest or meditate. So he picked up the Daisa, which was the equivalent of the flute in his past life, and played some anime songs from his previous life. He sang to himself alone in the break room, hoping to find some cathartic release in music, but unless he was on stage the Daisa did little to mitigate the constant groans of the males and females. He was to perform in one day, which was the day of the ritual, with an original song to attract more guests. The food would be free, but they must buy at least one drink. His song would be danced to by the establishment's prostitutes, allowing the men to have a good show before everyone's death. With his skill with instruments, accompanied by his great voice, he managed to entertain a few guests while they ate food during the general practice sessions. But he wasn't completely relaxed during this time, and he had managed to convince Lan Dun to help him destroy the ritual. A day ago he visited Lan Dun alone in his room during the night. He was confident in protecting himself but still took a knife with him just in case. Lan Dun's room had no candles, with the only light coming from the moon shining above. But despite that, his vision was still clear at night thanks to the wheel inside his soul currently spinning and grinding the cold energy produced from his brain. There he stood against the wall, staring at Lan Dun's bed as he laid asleep. He did a pitiful attempt at faking compared to Shen Yu's years of practice of not letting his parents find out he was staying up past curfew playing video games. "Lan Dun, I've come to talk," spoke Shen Yu in a serious tone, confident that Lan Dun was awake. "What do you mean by that, brat? I'm not interested in men," spoke Lan Dun as he rose from the bed, his mind sent spinning a bit. "Let's work together. We are both aware of that monster, and it is aware that I'm not a normal person, yet it still took me in anyways. The most I have done here is play music and cook food, whereas the customers simultaneously began to rapidly dwindle. This is a trap, no?" asked Shen Yu. "Like I said, Qi," but before Lan Dun could finish, Shen Yu interrupted. "But you already know you can't escape. The creature is hunting his prey. So you can only continue to provide sacrifices to delay getting eaten yourself," Shen Yu said, having paid attention to what the monster said about Lan Dun ending up on his plate. At this point, the man was speechless and completely still, not knowing after responding, as this was the second time he was ever confronted like this. But thinking about it, there were a few obvious points in his behavior, but what could he do? He is stuck here and the other workers are dying one by one, and even a few kids he saved have disappeared. Lan Dun first came here as a young boy along with his cousin Su Dun, and at that time the monster was a middle-aged decrepit man, who took advantage of children by buying and selling them. But as one of the few who could fight, Lan Dun was spared and instead became a bartender serving at the front end of the business alongside his cousin Su Dun, who left. Not confident in leaving a clean trail after killing the old man with many connections, he waited for him to die, but 3 days before his deathbed the old monster and Su Dun, his cousin, performed a ritual. It was very haphazard, and due to the old monster's greed he became a real monster. Thankfully the old man still couldn't cultivate, but the next one should fix that and his appearance, according to his cousin, who gave him instructions to prepare both rituals. "Let's hear this kid out. At worst we will both die and be sacrificed, which is going to happen soon anyways, so anything is welcomed at this point. But I doubt he could get any outside help. If it wasn't for those noble bastards who look down upon everything like they're gods, we wouldn't have needed to suffer, damn it," Lan Dun thought in his mind as the image of a little girl and boy popped into his mind before he started speaking once more. "No one can stop him. The forces in Glory City would never bother to help a few commoners. Issues like these can only be handled by ourselves, but it's too strong," Lan Dun said. "So give me permission to show my strength and tell me if this is enough to kill it, and if so you follow me and help me out with my plans," responded Shen Yu with a cold determination. Although he didn't like to think about it much, he felt disgusted at what was going to happen to the kids if he wasn't sent on this mission. "I see, so that's how it is. Well then, kid, I'm not easy to beat, give it your all," Overlord Shen Yu said in his mind as his ability activated from his mental trigger. A rush of cold energy entered his brain and he could process much more than last time as it flowed through the rest of his body. He felt an increase in physical strength compared to last time. It wasn't much, but this made him excited about his potential. He used as much strength as he could control, and leaped from his position to the side of Lan Dun, drawing a knife from his pocket and pointing at Lan Dun's back. "Is this enough?" "For now. If Su Dun stays the same then you could kill him, but the old monster can't be taken down until the start of the ritual. But for Su Dun, we need to kill him before the ritual. If we didn't, there would be nothing we could do but lie down and die. Lan Dun was much more confident now, and despite the doubts about pulling this off, this was the only option they could currently think of. How about this? I will strike in 2 days during the night. That's when the ritual will gather everyone together in the hall, which includes the guest, all the servants, and the guards. I want to be slated to perform during that time. We both come together and get rid of Su Dun and then we fight that monster. Shen Yu suggested. It sounds good to me. These were the last words spoken by Lan Dun before Shen Yu left his room. Shortly after that, Shen Yu called his pet crow and had him pick up more weapons that he later poisoned and hid away in some clothing before the big day. Chapter 26. Today was another Sunday for Shen Yu. Well, it at least seemed so when the white doves began their flight at dawn. Shen Yu walked around the building and although he couldn't relax, chatted with the other servants and guests as he made his rounds to remind himself of the possible exits or escape paths in case things go south. A pleasant scent of freshly fired donuts could be smelt from the busy kitchen, and when Shen Yu found himself in the serving area he felt a slight craving for one. But he ignored it and instead ate egg-fried rice. He was going to fight against 2 strong opponents, so he needed to be at his best. Not saying a word to anyone, Shen Yu headed to his room, but since he was acting as he normally does, no one paid much attention. One more workout before the battle and some Daiza practice will be good. The only thing left is to rest and prepare me mentally to kill those 2. Thought Shen Yu in his mind before starting on his workout in the servant room. At least that was his plan before he heard the sound of rain and thunder outside. Some time in the rain would be nice, just have to find an umbrella. This type of weather doesn't come often. He thought to himself before walking to the storage room and grabbing an umbrella, heading outside and onto the roof. As the sound of rain got heavier, Shen Yu looked at the sky and thought about his siblings in the sacred family. Shen Fei, Shen Xian, and Sen Ru. His memories with them, although short but were pleasant enough that he didn't have many issues with them. Maybe when I go back, I can stop Shen Fei from becoming like his canon self, but then there's Shen Feng. I hate that incestuous bastard for pushing me off the cliff, and I'm 90% sure it's that Shen bitch Su's fault. Thought Shen Yu before anger flashed on his face. The wheel in his soul began spinning again and the seed left over from the text began to grow in his mind. They are probably dividing the money I hid. I swear for the rest of my life I will make them both regret that day, and the sacred family who didn't even bother, according to the rumors, do a search for me. When Shen Yu's thoughts stopped temporarily as an influx of knowledge hit his mind. In the meanwhile, Shen Xian and Shen Ru stood in the rain without umbrellas. Their young bodies shivered a bit in the cold, but to them, it was not as important as the reason they were at Shen Yu's grave. They held flowers together and placed them on the grave mound. They had to make it themselves, and because of Shen Feng's and their aunt's interference, they couldn't even send people to look for the body. It was after that Shen Ru stopped hanging out with Shen Qiu, and Shen Qian had a cold attitude towards everyone besides his sister. "Brother, why did you have to leave?" asked Shen Ru as she cried on her brother Shen Qian's shoulder. Shen Qian trembled in anger but didn't speak a word, as the brother needed to be there for his sister at these times and not cry. At least that's what Shen Yu taught him. "Let's go," he said, pulling his crying sister away from the grave before heading into his room and weeping silently for an hour. His bed was a mess and his pillows were torn. Blood could be felt leaking from his small fist as he roared silently in his heart with pain. "I feel so alone. Brother, give me some strength so I can move on. I swear I will get revenge, but please, if somehow you are still alive, come back. I miss you," spoke Shen Qian before bandaging himself up as Shen Yu taught him before he died, and lay down for the rest of the night. "I will kill you one day," Shen Feng thought Shen Qian in his head, unaware that his sister heard his tears earlier. At night time in the prostitution house, Shen Yu's outfit was changed to something more refined. It wasn't much, but it complemented his appearance well. Despite how he looked, he was hiding a crossbow, 4 knives, and arrows laced with poison, but it wasn't the reason for his confidence. Instead, It was what he gained from the rain. His pet crow sat on the windowsill and was ready for any orders, watching its owner admire himself a bit before scoping the crow up in his palm. "Hide and fly away, Taki. I might not make it back this time," Shen Yu said while giving the crow a piece of parchment with a message to Shen Qian and Shen Ru. "Caw caw." Itaki crowed in protest. "It is my last wish, Itaki. If I am going to die, fly away and deliver this knot to them so at least some of my efforts won't go away. Please," Shen Yu said, seeing the crow nod in silence. Shen Yu then headed downstairs and into the auditorium where the stage and the performance were being set up. He felt a lot of emotions as he helped prepare for the ritual he would be destroyed in the near future. There was a slight fear of dying and wasting his reincarnation, but it was mainly filled with excitement and adrenaline. Picking up his daisa, he began to practice a few notes before the guest arrived when someone he recognized came here earlier than he planned. The man was dressed in a sleeveless top and brown pants at the bottom. He had white gloves and looked like he was preparing for the ceremony. Recognizing Su Dun's face, Shi Yu pretended as if he didn't know that he even existed. "How cold of you, Yu Shen. Being my former worker and all. Why don't you greet me?" Su Dun said, slightly shocking Shen Yu by teasing him. "Crap? Did Lan Dun betray me?" Shen Yu thought to himself, not changing his face as he responded out loud. "What do you mean, sir? I'm just a worker here that is playing tonight for guests like yourself." Chapter 27. Have some idea about my story? Comment it and let me know in the Discord server, book reviews, or comment section. Don't forget to share the book and add it to your library. Thank you for reading. Black King Jade. Dash. Oh, by all means, Mr. Shen, provide me with a splendid performance, said Su Dun with a smirk on his face before he walked away and sat down on a chair nearby waiting for the other guest and his servants to come. "I'll do my best, Sir Dun," said Shen Yu while deliberating how the fuck Su Dun knew he even worked at his gang. "I guess my appearance is more eye-catching and noticeable than I thought. Well, the only thing I can do is prepare to kill him during my performance." Thankfully I prepared beforehand with Itaka's help. Shen Yu thought in his mind. Not letting himself show his inner thoughts, continued to play the daisy, and as the time quickly approached he got off stage and left as the guests started to arrive. While Su Dun was sitting, he took out a book from his satchel and began to read it in order to once again prepare for the ritual which he would start after this performance. The stage and decorations were akin to a typical Chinese and Japanese theater with sliding doors he can hide behind and prepare his weapons. It was painted with yellow and red twisting dragons and phoenixes. The dancers were wearing their makeup and pink gauze and started to line up behind the screen for their performance to start. Making sure to stay out the way and keep his shadow from appearing on the thin folding screen, he entered the stage below where his poisons and weapons were. In the meanwhile, the dancers started playing and teasing the audience by dancing seductively behind the screen. And if you had asked Shen Yu during practice what he thought of the dance, he could only respond by saying it's very provocative. The dancers themselves had no problem capturing the audience's attention, especially Su Dun's, who was wondering what Shen Yu was going to do during this performance before he was killed along with everyone else here in the ritual, but not knowing when Shen Yu would appear again, wanted to enjoy the show to its fullest. A/N, I recommend playing Orochimaru's fight theme here. During this, Shen Yu started cranking his crossbow as fast and as hard as he could. Pretty soon the trap door would open and he would appear to the audience, so he didn't have much time, especially as the drums started playing in the background. Having his crossbow ready and smothered in a bit of a poisonous cocktail, Shen Yu sat on a platform and began to play the daisa when a dancer signaling to get ready for others pulled him up. To the audience, the door fell down and the women in pink gauze and beautiful dresses that showcased their bellies danced in a snake-like fashion, singing along with the drums. Anyone that's a fan of the original Naruto would know for sure what the song playing was. But sadly only Shen Yu was cultured enough to force his co-workers to prepare weeb music. The platform was opened and it revealed Shen Yu, who was not only in a bit of white makeup but also covering his crossbow with his outfit as he brought the daisy up. Using the daisa, he played the beginning version of the theme as the ladies danced more vigorously, getting a cheer from the audience. Damn, screw the ritual. I wish to screw them first before doing so. It's not like they would be able to leave anytime soon with my goons here blocking the doors, so I might as well help the ladies enjoy themselves. Thought Soo-dun. His lust affected his rational judgment like some hormonal teenager, and that's where he fucked up. While he was distracted by staring at swaying boobs and butts, Shen Yu activated his powers. A coldness rushed into his mind as he lifted his old-looking crossbow. He had chosen this crossbow for a reason, as the draw weight on it was hundreds of pounds and came with special arrows that he modified to be more like a drill. One of the audience members who wasn't in a trance noticed Shen Yu pulling out the big crossbow. But before he could say a word, Shen Yu took his shot at Soo-dun. "Oh, shit is that?" exclaimed the random audience member, his voice being cut off by the bow. "Crack. Surprise, motherfucker," Shen Yu said in English, knowing full well that one would understand him and just think of him as an autistic kid with a crossbow. Soo-dun didn't even see it coming, as his attention was on one of the stage girls and had an arrow blast through his skull before he could even blink. "Hell yeah. First assassination mission succeeded," roared Shen Yu in his mind as he quickly took off his performance robe with one hand, revealing his regular clothes to be underneath. All of Soo-dun's plans came to naught as Shen Yu had won. Now even if the ritual started by some weird miracle, Soo-dun wouldn't get that power. Not wanting to spend long here with the shocked audience and co-workers, Shen Yu called his crow, who swept a book out of Soo-dun's hand and handed it to Shen Yu. Glancing quickly at the book cover, Shen Yu placed it away in his robe. He couldn't leave just yet, as his next opponent was going to be coming here very soon, so with little hesitation he played his daisa to signal the kids he decided to help to start making their way to a place to hide and prepare to escape. It wasn't long before a racing sound came down from the rooftops, with a big and rapidly approaching figure landing on the wooden tiles. The monster of an old man had a smile on his face, and Shen Yu was still in his overdrive state. Not saying a word, the old and creepy man began launching a flurry of blows onto Shen Yu, with him barely avoiding the attacks of the crazy old man. "This is much more difficult than I realized. But I can tell he's not trying to kill me for some reason, unless it's a headshot. He won't go for the kill and instead is trying to grab me or my clothes. Guess that book really must be the ritual book. I still need to get that box from Soo-dun. I just need to hold on until my backup arrives." So with those thoughts, Shen Yu began counterattacking a bit with the aim of creating distance so he could grab his dagger more conveniently. Chapter 28. Using his right leg, Shen Yu kicked away the old man's left hook before twisting his own body and jumping away like a Beyblade. His feet slightly dragged him a bit further away than planned when he hit the ground, but moving quickly, Shen Yu took out his daggers and with the help of his ability began to fight the monster of an old man by himself. Seeing Shen Yu, the old man grinned as a red gleam could be seen in his eyes as his thoughts ran wildly. "This kid brought time the most fun I had ever had. I am going to savor his flesh." Slowly flexing his muscles, the old monster activated his own unique trait he called Demon Claws. Staying surprisingly nimble and flexible for his age, he dodged the first 3 lunges despite his huge size. Now behind Shen Yu, he swiped down at his head, but before could kill him, an arrow broke the air, nearly hitting his hand before the old monster quickly pulled away. "Lan Dun, you finally show your colors? It's too late for regret. I savored every single last one of them," roared the old man out loud. So far both Shen Yu and the old man avoided the audience members, as the old man wanted customers and some more rituals performed, while Shen Yu wanted to avoid being jumped. Lan Dun remained hidden in the crowd of people above the center stage, not saying a single word. He instead felt anger, but knew that if he were to out himself by reaction, more people than planned would die, so he again waited for his opportunity by preparing his secret weapon. Shen Yu, not wanting to have the old man switch opponents and ruin his chance of success with his rapidly draining energy, leaped with a fury towards the old man, speeding up himself past a point where he knew was possible to perform with his body. "Your opponent is me, bastard. Fuck your mother." Shen Yu shouted at the monster to enrage him, and while normally he could take insults, he was losing face by dealing with a kid for so long, so Shen Yu's insults worked and both tried hard to kill the other. The sound of metal clanging against each other would be heard by the audience as the two fighters moved across the field that currently housed an assortment of chairs, food, kitchenware, and booze. Landing on a table, Shen Yu observed the old man rushing at him again. I can use this table to block my figure and try to subvert his guard, thought Shen Yu before doing just that, kicking hard and falling down, ensuring that the table launched above himself, blocking the claws and vision of the old man. In the meanwhile, Lan Dun made his way down secretly with a spear and now in the crowd waited his chance. During this time many of the furniture was destroyed, including the stage, causing many of the guests to gather in a circular shape around the now cleared area where the two main fighters stood. Shen Yu felt lightheaded, his clothes partially torn, and could taste the blood in his mouth that was currently flowing from his body. With his vision blurred and energy starting to fade, he felt angry at himself for being stupid. Why the hell didn't I just snipe this man last time instead of fighting a one-on-one? Now I might make it out alive, pain coursing through my entire body, and if it wasn't for my current state I wouldn't be able to fight anymore, and as time passes the pain grows. Stupid monster, poison isn't fucking working on him, Shen Yu thought to himself. So with nearly one eye closed made his way to the old man, who besides a few cuts and bruises had no damage and didn't seem slowed down in the least. Cultivation rituals were bullshit. Wham! Before Shen Yu could react, he was punched with a left cross leading before the right hook that launched him into the air. Crack! A strong kick to his ribs blasted him away towards the audience. It wasn't time for that yet, he still needed to buy time so the old man would be killed for good. With what little strength he had, Shen Yu resisted in great pain, stopped his body from flying any further, and made his way running back to fight. He felt, no, he knew he couldn't back down now no matter how tired he felt. His state was almost completely faded and he could hardly move. I can't fall down now, not when I'm so close, he thought before he roared out loud. Die. Arc hhhhhhh. Stabbing at the guy before he was kicked once more by the old man into the air. The breath was almost knocked out of Shen Yu when suddenly the energy he was generating once more rapidly coursed through his body and into his brain. It's over, brat, now I will slowly savor you, said the old man, his demonic and twisted clown visage coming into full display. A true monster made his way to Shen Yu, who was struggling to get up as his energy flooded his entire body. Enlightenment struck Shen Yu as he really internalized what his ability could do, and with his remaining energy pumped his energy into his adrenaline system. He felt the same feeling when he was pushed off the cliff the time before. In that situation his pumping adrenaline combined with the energy caused him to release some of his explosive potentials. Shen Yu, feeling a newfound strength, burst forward with speed unseen by a non-cultivator and jumped to the old monster's face and kicked his head, drawing blood from the monster's head for the first time. What the hell was that? He was clearly low on energy. How did he get that fast? Questioned the old man before the fight was engaged once more, this time him taking a lot more damage and getting more and more cuts on his body from Shen Yu's dagger, who subtly backed him near the crowd, noticing a signal from Lan Dun. Finally, all I need is to get him slightly closer. The plan's almost a success. Happy Shen Yu had a slightly evil grin as he planned his next move. He decided to use both his daggers once more to hold the old man's hands firmly in place. Then, taking advantage of the towering man's body position, kicked the monstrous old man into the crowd. As they got close to the crowd, the old man wanted to move the fighting to where he would have a greater advantage, but before he could do that he was kicked in the chest before feeling a piercing sensation on that very same chest. A spear appeared on the other end of it. The old man found his body losing all strength. What? How? Damn you, Lan Dun. First the arrow and now this, damn it, I should have killed him when I found him the first time, thought the old man as he felt a weakness in his arms and legs, unable to move. Lan Dun had seen his chance and leaped towards the monster with a long metal spear, driving it through the old monster's heart. Now the battle was almost completely over, and the old man watched in resentment as Shen Yu made his way to him. Should I stab him in the butt with my poisoned daggers? No, wait, that's too much for me. I won't be able to unsee that, so I will just kill him off normally, Shen Yu thought as he made his way to the old creature and, not wasting time, killed the old perverted man. It's finally over, Lan Dun said. It was the first time he had spoken today. Chapter 29. Did this little kid just defeat that old monster? Tell me I'm dreaming, said one of the older-looking adult crowd members. Damn it! Where am I going to go to relax now? He has the cheapest prices. One young man said. Very interesting. Maybe I can make some money out of this. Spoke one member of a nearby gang. Finally he's gone. He was disgusted by me for a long time. He got what he deserved. A posher-looking old man said. Ouch. Okay, I'm not dreaming, you didn't have to hurt me. But it's unbelievable that he managed to do it, but what now? Another man said, screaming at his best friend, regretting he was friends in the first place. Yes, what I should do now is a good question. But I know that I and the other kids need to get out of here for sure. Before I pass out and fall asleep, it's a good idea to collect the dead targets' bodies first and address the crowd, Shen Yu thought to himself, trying to focus his thoughts. The old monster's body began decomposing and a blackish-red mist rose from the corpse, wafting through the air. The smell of sulfur and disgusting carnal sin caused the bellies of some to expel the food they ate recently, but all heard the sounds of hell. Shen Yu's body visually reacted with the feeling of pain shooting through his legs, but he ignored it as some kind of last-minute petty effort of revenge. The nightmare is gone, but let's explain to the crowd what was going to happen to them if our opponents succeeded. Lan Dun, if you would explain to the crowd. Shen Yu spoke quietly, his throat starting to feel a little hoarse. Well, there is no good way to put this. The objective tonight was to put down these two monsters who were planning to release a poison after the performance, chain us away, play with our bodies and consume them. Lan Dun spoke to the crowd, provoking reactions. As long as I can spark some outrage and some allies, I could get this establishment. Thought the scheming man. There's no way. I have been going here for years and I had never said the scheming man before being cut off. Never seen the other side of that old decrepit old man named Sung Yoon. I know you must have heard of the rumors. Did no one see that strange mist that expelled from him? Surely that's proof of his demonic ties. Lan Dun countered, interrupting the babbling customer. Yet, how else is that old man going from his deathbed to insanely healthy and strong? One customer said to rally a crowd. I agree, I always knew they were creepy, especially that old guy. Another passerby said in agreement. The indigent and scheming man couldn't speak anymore. So he had to accept the fact that he was almost sacrificed to some demons and was now looked at as unfavorable to the crowd. Give us some face, and allow us some time to rest. As the successor of the man, I will do my best in hosting all of you next week after all the affairs are in order. Lan Dun spoke with conviction, saying this while not knowing he would continue this exact business or change the business model. With that, the guest left, leaving both Shen Yu and Lan Dun along with the rest of the servants in a now empty brothel. Still low on energy, Shen Yu moves despite his legs feeling like lead and first searches for Su Dun. Moving some clothes around, he finds a note on his body. It was a map leading to where he hid his treasures and money. But being too tired, he failed to notice a red wisp of energy containing the symbols of Su Dun's brand entering his hand as he searched. I will be taking a rest now. The fight took more energy from me than I thought. Shen Yu said, failing to hide the situation he was in. The damage to him was evident on his body. Luckily, he could take the pain with the adrenaline still pumping in his body. Take the upstairs near the back of the hall and on the leftmost and final door enter that. The room there is clean. Everyone else we can discuss later about what to do. For now everyone just gets some rest as we have a long day ahead of us. Shen Yu made his way up the stairs, signaling to Ataki, with a whistle, to come with him. The bird fling in the air swooped down with great grace towards his target. Itaka then landed on Shen Yu's shoulder, staying perched there until Shen Yu fell asleep in his room, taking to guarding him instead. A night passes and Shen Yu wakes up barely able to move because of the pain he was in from overuse of the ability. Luckily for him, the herbs he had ingested during his reincarnation and the nurturing energy nursed him slowly back to health at a much faster rate than normal, so he would recover within a few days instead of months. After this incident, the entire nearby neighborhood knew what happened and who did it. about different versions of the story, but most interested in a match against a little kid were other little kids who in the end did not end up challenging him. But adults came by who wanted the place to themselves. Fortunately, Lan Dun was a skilled fighter, so with some help of the servant boys and a few weapons kept the detractors away. With nothing to do, Shen Yu starts recalling the previous content he was reading about and skills he was practicing before falling off the cliff. Briefly remembering the content, he performed some simple calculations of his personal year number, and not to his surprise it meant change was coming soon. Recalling all the events he went through recently, he sighed internally before getting up and stretching minimally before practicing his math skills in his head. His goal was to be able to perform 5-digit calculations involving exponents, square and cubic roots, division, multiplication, as well as addition and subtraction. During his time practicing, Lan Dun came up and entered the room. "How much have you recovered?" he asked. "A few more days and I will be back to normal. Thanks for what you have done so far," replied Shen Yu with a bit of a yawn. "No thank you. Without you we would have not been able to escape his grapes, but there is something I need to tell you," Lan Dun said with visible worry. "What is it?" Shen Yu said. "I know who you are. Former second in line to the sacred family Shen Yu. Betrayed you straight into the Dark Lord's vision and lived within his home. My lord, after you recover it is time for you to go alone and complete the assignment." Lan Dun spoke kneeling to Shen Yu, who was partially caught off guard but having reincarnated recently still had memories fresh in his head. A feeling of dread came over Lan Dun when he met the one who will be guiding his lord from now on. It brought him shivers right down to his soul as he recalled the words that were said to him. "That's right, my father Shen Hong is a part of the Dark Guild, and it looks like my aunt is unrated or unqualified on these matters, otherwise I should be dead. But if my father is stuck cultivating, then Shen Ming must make the decisions. But he should want me dead, so there must only be one option left, which is the guild leader. But why does he wish for me to live?" Shen Yu thought to himself. "I accept your allegiance. For the next few weeks run the inn well and take upon a few more child workers to be raised as my subordinates." "That will be done, young master." With Shen Yu's permission, Lan Dun left Shen Yu to stew within his own mind, wondering what he got himself into. Chapter 30. Daily updates for a week start today. Join the Discord https://discord.gg/jzyckr4vb5. And thank you for sticking with me as we reach chapter 30 in the new version of the book, and I'm liking this version a lot better. From author San. A few weeks passed and Shen Yu completely recovered, both physically and mentally. The now former prostitution ring was doing well after converting into what he called an entertainment hall, where the previous prostitutes and servants would serve, play board games and perform different arts and talents for guests. People still had their fun here, just more discreetly and with the explicit permission of the talent. It's only the first step, but I'm glad at how quickly my ideas were able to bring in some profits and customers, Shen Yu thought to himself, smiling before getting up and dressing in his now usual gray hanfo with black lining. After placing on the geta near his bed, which are wooden sandals image later, he heads out of the room and down the stairs with the package and book he recently obtained. It was finally time to head to what he knows now is the Dark Guild's recruitment territory, not a completely factional camp like he thought it was. During his descent, he could hear the sounds of guests having fun, good food being made, and performances by the actors and musicians. But more importantly than all, he could hear his new subordinates arguing. Deciding it was best to not cause a big scene before leaving, he quickened his pace, wanting to exit faster. "Thighs are better than boobs, you uncultured swine," Qiao Zhang said as a believer in the Dao of thighs. "Never, even in hell. Boobs are for life, you flat-chested lover, damn Lilicon," Swim Dan said as a believer in the Dao of boobs. "How can I be a Lilicon when my age is dot?" Qiao Zhang attempted to argue but was cut off, as is the destiny of all flat-chest lovers who fight for justice. Tired of this argument the two were having for the past week, Shen Yu's left eye began to twitch in response to his inner feelings. "But how are you not a Lilicon if you're not a Swim Dan said, screaming, since he believed in dating more mature and refined women. "Swim Dan and Qiao Zhang, let's go. Stop yelling at each other." We have things to do, Shen Yu finally said, not wanting to further lose face in front of the crowd that had gathered and interrupting the both of them. Yes, boss. They both replied at once, causing Shen Yu to have a slight grin on his face as he walked out of the building. It felt nice to be treated this way and have a sense of power, and if he would dare even think it in his mind. Slightly addicting. But still, I can't believe those idiots. The ass is better than both boobs and thighs. The damn fools. It looks like they need further education on true culture. Shen Yu thought quietly to himself, feeling less stressed than he was a bit earlier. Itaki. With the call of Shen Yu, the crow perched on his shoulder and the group made their way to the encampment. In the meanwhile, Shen Hong at the Sacred Family finally stopped his meditation. Lately, the time required to cultivate has increased to longer and longer periods of time for increasingly smaller progress, but thankfully he left the family in good hands. With a deep breath, he exhaled the incense in the room and would soon begin cultivating once more. Or so he thought before he heard a gentle knock at the door. You may enter, Shen Ming. Shen Hong said to the man who was currently training his eldest son and running the family. It was very convenient to only give Shen Ming permission to disturb his cultivation, as it was very rarely done and he almost always knew who it was. Master, the guild leader has sent a messenger for you. Shen Ming said, trembling a bit from the ruthless and snake-like aura he was getting from the person next to him. Oh, then let him in too. Shen Hong said, spread his senses and felt a slightly unfamiliar presence, but from the aura alone he could guess that it was one of his subordinates from the Dark Guild. What could it be this time? The plan for Glory City won't take place for a while. Shen Hong thought to himself. Zhou Xin calmly entered the room filled with dim lighting and blood-red aesthetic. Zhou Xin's long black hair covered his white robes and with a handsome face spoke with some grace. We have your son. His name is Shen Yu, if I'm correct. Zhou Xin said. His face was a bit pale due to a slow feeling of a terrifying and dark abyss filling the room. Shen Hong frowned. If you think that you could use that in order to control me, then you must forget why I'm the vice leader. Why go in circles? Just tell me what you want and kill that waste who got captured. Who gave him the damn nerve? He can't explain himself. I will kill them both, thought Shen Hong while he released a black gold third realm worth of energy, bringing 300,000 units of soul force onto the gold ranked 5 Zhou Xin, and Shen Ming, who was only a sliver rank, was unable to even think and ended up collapsing on the ground. On the contrary, sir, he wasn't captured but joined us of his own free will, something along the lines of his younger brother pushing him off St. Blood Cliff and surviving. Zhou Xin said with a clearly fake smile in his voice, doing his best to resist the increasing pressure. It was as if an ordinary human not only was carrying a huge amount of weight but being sucked into a black hole, constantly grinding his spirit and mind. HMP ahaha, HMP ahaha. Unable to hold it in anymore, Shen Hong started laughing, his aura increasing as it got louder. Ha 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 ha. Shen Hong began laughing wildly. Ha 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 ha. Bring him back here. That's my son for sure, not knowing how to cultivate but still surviving that height. Seeing that his aura was killing Shen Ming and crushing Zhou Xin, he stopped before it got too far and waited for an answer. Right away, but the Dark Lord has a request in return. Zhou Xin said after recovering some breath. Say it. Shen Hong said, knowing it was better to reason with the Dark Lord. A few men, and for me to teach young Master Yu. Said Shen Hong before thinking a bit. That's it. Well, regardless of his purpose, a little love can keep that little kid on my side, so who cares? Thought Shen Hong. Deal, but I need my son here by the next few weeks, otherwise the deal is off. Said Shen Hong. No problem, Lord Hong. Expect him to be coming very soon. Zhou Xin responded before leaving quickly. And with that Zhou Xin left, leaving Shen Ming in a massive amount of fear and Shen Hong staring at him with an unpleased look. I don't care what happened earlier. Fix this mess now. By the looks of things you did something, after he was perceived dead. I also want the rest involved to be whipped publicly with the ancestral whip. 50 lashes for them in front of all their families, and I will deal with you after this mess is done. Shen Hong said. Yes, my lord. responded Shen Ming. At least I'm not dead, but I dread what's coming next, so I must show I can do a good job. Shen Ming thought with determination. It wasn't long this time before Shen Yu arrived at what he would now call the Black Guild encampment. The camp was more silent than when he first got here, which made sense since some people were either still performing missions or were dead. Deciding to check up on his temporary shelter friends later, he went to the reception area where he was assigned his mission and delivered the package before leaving and leading his subordinates to find his old acquaintances. But sadly, to Shen Yu's disappointment, he was not able to find the two students and later found that they went with an old man on a mission. Not having much planned for the day, he relaxed with his subordinates in his temporary residence. All that's left is to meet with whoever I need to, and then I'm gone. Hopefully what they are requesting from me isn't my life. I'm definitely not going to miss it when I leave, but if I'm still alive I should come here at least once a year for promising subordinates, or at least find someone that won't cause headaches. Shaking his head, clearing the dark thoughts in his mind, he played some card games with his subordinates before heading to bed. The next day he woke up in his new room and brought his body against the ancient-feeling headboard of the wooden bed. Slightly groggy, he remembered the fun they had last night, especially after pranking both of his subordinates by placing their hands in bowls of warm water. Shen Yu chuckled before hearing a knock at the door. "Ah, come in," he said with his guard slightly up now, knowing that currently, only his two subordinates could open his door from within the residence. He wasn't as on guard as he was previously, but he was prepared to start his overlord ability. The two subordinates walked in with embarrassed faces and panda eyes. With their pants were drenched in water. "Sorry, young lord, but I and Xiaozhang got into an argument and ended up fighting in a nearby lake. Could we get a change of clothes?" Hiding his chuckle, Shen Yu responded. "Sure. Just go to the storage room of the residence. I placed the extra clothing for myself there. Just make sure you two bathe." "Yes, young lord," Sun Dan said vigorously. "Yes, young lord," Xiaozhang said in a slightly calm but firm voice. With his subordinates visibly upset and swearing in their heads at their shameless boss, they changed clothes and bathed while Shen Yu laughed loudly and got dressed. Entering the bath for the first time in a few days, Sun Dan and Xiaozhang quietly talked with each other. "I hate your guts, flat chest lover, but I suggest an alliance," Sun Dan said. You. Fine, just this once I will let the matter pass, but we must prank our young lord when we have the chance," Xiaozhang said. "Maybe we can try and help the young lord find happiness by letting him experience the same bed wedding," Sun Dan said. "I'd love to, but what are the odds of successfully doing that? How about painting him with funny makeup or buying things that are too small to use as a joke?" Xiaozhang said. "We could even throw in some women's clothes or two," Sun Dan said. "Sun Dan, you bastard, that's a great idea," Xiaozhang said. "I'll prank him, but not in this way. Let this old man seek death and frame me for this matter. He's too dumb to do it rightly," Xiaozhang thought to himself. "Humph, don't underestimate my intellect just because I have bigger muscles," Sun Dan said, hiding his true thoughts. Haha, his father has a genius idea to get rid of this Lilicon once and for along with revenge. Sun Dan chuckled at his thoughts slightly out loud but quickly hid them. After the bath, they were excitedly smiling, and when the fresh clothes were put on, they walked with Shen Yu to meet with the subordinate of the Dark Lord. After all, as a servant to the young lord, both of them must do their best. But unknown to them, a crow was perched nearby watching and following them before flying off and perching once more on Shen Yu's shoulder. "Great work, Itaki,"